Chapter 193. A photo. Lin Yi knocked on the door, and Tang Yin's voice came from the yard after a while. "Who is it?" "It's me," Lin Yi said. There was an obvious silence on the other side of the door. Then, with a creak, the door opened, revealing Tang Yun's beautiful face. There was no smile on it, only coldness. "Come in." Lin Yi paused. Tang Yun's attitude wasn't good to him before, but she was honest and straightforward. She'd throw a tantrum at him and step on his feet. Today, however, Tang Yun's eyes were filled with coldness. Kong Xiaobo didn't notice that as he followed Lin Yi into Tang Yin's yard. He pointed at the mess in the yard, surprised at the sight. "Boss, look! Where's the cherry tree?" People who lived in single-story houses usually planted things in their yards. Almost every house in Lin Yi's hometown had that, so he wasn't too curious about it. Kong Xiaobo grew up in the city, so he didn't see much of these things. He was excited, but curious at the same time. "Yin, is that your classmate?" Mrs. Tang's voice came from the house. It was an old brick house, and it was impossible to tell the age of the house. The house was made of red bricks, and there was no cement on the outside. The windows were sealed with plastic sheets, and the door was covered in rust. But in this shabby environment, there lived a girl full of sunshine, the commoner beauty of first middle school. "Yeah." Tang Yin replied faintly, her tone no longer carrying any anger or dissatisfaction towards Lin Yi. It was as if she was talking to a stranger. "Lin Yi's here, come in," Mrs. Tang said happily as she walked out of the house to greet Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo. "Auntie," Lin Yi greeted as he entered the house with Kong Xiaobo. It was a typical old-fashioned room, with a small kitchen and a small room behind the small kitchen. Tang Yin's room was probably there. "Come in and sit." Mrs. Tang called Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo in before turning to Tang Yin. "Yin, you keep Shuyu and company, I'll go prepare the barbecue." "Oh." Tang Yin nodded, not objecting as she sat on the chair opposite Lin Yi. The sofa was limited, and Tang Yin didn't want to squeeze with Lin Yi, so she chose to sit opposite Lin Yi. Mrs. Tang went out to work, and Tang Yin didn't say anything as well. She sat on the chair, resting her chin on her hand as she stared at the floor, deep in thought. Lin Yi didn't know what was wrong with Tang Yin today. She treated him so strangely, like he was a stranger. Sitting there awkwardly wasn't a good idea, so Lin Yi tried to start a conversation. "Is Uncle in the house?" Lin Yi heard noises from inside the house. The door was closed, but with Lin Yi's hearing, it didn't escape his ears. "My dad's injured at work, he can't get up from the bed," Tang Yin explained. "Injured at work? Is it serious?" Lin Yi was startled. He'd imagined all sorts of situations for Tang Yin's family, but he didn't expect Tang Yin's father to be injured and bedridden. "He's saving money for surgery later this year. If the surgery is successful, he'll be able to recover," Tang Yin said faintly, as if she was talking to a stranger. "Injured at work? Then why didn't the company pay?" Kong Xiaobo interrupted. "What can we do if the factory owner doesn't want to pay?" Tang Yin seemed to have accepted her fate. She was helpless against the factory owner who didn't want to pay. She wasn't angry anymore. "I'll go see Uncle Tang." Lin Yi stood up and wanted to go inside, but Tang Yin stopped him. "My dad is resting, don't go." Tang Yin didn't let Lin Yi in. She didn't want to have anything to do with Lin Yi anymore, so naturally, she didn't want him to go inside the house. If she owed Lin Yi another favor, how could she pay it back? Tang Yin wasn't ignorant of the ways of the world. On the contrary, her father's incident made her and her mother suffer the coldness of the world, and they had a deeper understanding of it. Why would Lin Yi help her family? In her family, other than herself, what else could be valued by Lin Yi? In the end, when they couldn't pay back the favor they owed him, they could only pay it back with their bodies. Lin Yi only wanted to see how Mr. Tang's injury was, whether there was a better way to treat it without surgery, but since Tang Yin was against it, Lin Yi wasn't in a hurry. Kong Xiaobo didn't want to be a third wheel. He walked to the side while Lin Yi and Tang Yin were talking. He looked around the room, and his eyes suddenly fell on a photo in the bookshelf. There were 3 girls in the photo. One was Tang Yin, and the other was Tang Yin's best friend, Lu Xinwen. Kong Xiaobo had some impression of her, but there was another girl that made Kong Xiaobo's eyes light up. Of the 3 girls in the photo, Tang Yin was undoubtedly the prettiest and the most outstanding one, but the other girl was only a little bit weaker than her. She looked so soft and weak, and it made people want to protect her with just one look. Who was this person? Kong Xiaobo's heart started to move again. As for Tang Yin, Kong Xiaobo had completely given up. As long as Lin Yi could catch up with him, he would be satisfied, but this girl, this photo? Kong Xiaobo couldn't help but ask. Tang Yin turned her head towards Kong Xiaobo's voice and saw the photo in the bookshelf, 2 of my best friends. I know this Lu Xinwen, she's also from our school, but this. Kong Xiaobo hesitated. Although it was rude to ask directly, he didn't want to give up. Her name is Lan Fun, she's a good friend I grew up with. Tang Yin clearly didn't want to talk about this anymore. She only briefly introduced Lan Fun and didn't say anything else. Kong Xiaobo replied with an "oh" and silently remembered the name. Lan Fun, it sounded pretty good. He just didn't know where he was studying now. She definitely wasn't from first school. If she was, there was no way he wouldn't know her. Although Lan Fun wasn't one of the 3 school beauties, she was definitely a popular girl in the school. She could be ranked in the top 10 of the girls in first school. Kong Xiaobo wanted to ask about Lan Fun's current situation, but Tang Yin didn't seem to want to talk about it. Chapter 194. Chapter 194, The Girl Who Jumped Off a Building. Lin Yi, you eat with your classmates first, there's still a lot left. Mrs. Tang said before leaving the house. Mom, I'll go help you. Tang Yin said awkwardly, wanting to go accompany her mother. Yin, you eat with your classmates, get some drinks and chat with them. I'll be fine here. Mrs. Tang said with a smile. I'm not busy here, there's so many customers at the food street, I can handle it all by myself. Oh. Tang Yin pouted unhappily. Eat with them? Drink with them and chat with them? Wouldn't I be the 3rd escort then? Kong Xiaobo had been looking forward to the barbecue, but his mind was elsewhere. His eyes kept glancing at the photo on the bookshelf as he thought about the girl named Lan Fun. He couldn't help but ask. Tang Yin, why don't we invite Lu Xinwen and Lan Fun to eat together? Kong Xiaobo had put Lu Xinwen in front of him, but it was just a facade. He had ulterior motives. Lu Xinwen was a classmate from first middle, so it was only natural that he would be more familiar with her. Kong Xiaobo had put her in front of him, and Lan Fun was the main focus. Xiaobo felt his blood rush to his head the moment he saw Lan Fun. He knew that he wasn't good enough for Tang Yin, and he didn't fantasize about it, but Lan Fun. Xiaobo really did want her. Tang Yin frowned, not knowing why Kong Xiaobo was so interested in the girl in the photo. I'll treat them to dinner alone. You can eat if you want, or sit if you don't. Kong Xiaobo couldn't help but laugh dryly. Of course, I'll eat. It smells so good. Lin Yi could roughly guess what Kong Xiaobo was thinking. Lin Yi had seen Lan Fun in the photo from the corner of his eyes. She was a beauty, but not as pretty as Tang Yin, but she was still outstanding. No wonder Kong Xiaobo was tempted. Lin Yi looked at the barbecue on the table. He had to admit that Mrs. Tang's control of the heat was pretty good. Coupled with his own ingredients, it was hard for the business to not be booming. She was just about to pick one up to try when the door was pushed open. A girl barged in and yelled, Tang Yin, bad news. Fun wants to jump off the building. Come and help me persuade her. It was Tang Yun's best friend, Lu Xinwen. She didn't notice that Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo were in the room when she came in, but when she finished talking, she realized that there were two other people in the room. Especially when she saw Lin Yi, her expression turned ugly. 2 days ago, she had just told Tang Yun about Lin Yi, and Tang Yun swore that she had nothing to do with Lin Yi, but in the blink of an eye, Lin Yi appeared in Tang Yun's house. Lu Xinwen sighed. What a silly girl who was blinded by love. She couldn't believe Tang Yun's explanation of sitting in Lin Yi's car. What? Fan wants to jump off the building? Where? Tang Yun's heart skipped a beat after hearing Lu Xinwen's words. She stood up and was about to rush outside. In the alley, in front of their house, Lu Xinwen said hurriedly, "Let's go and persuade her." At this time, Mrs. Tang also rushed in. She was in the middle of barbecuing when she saw Lu Xinwen rushing into her house. She said a few words to her, but Lu Xinwen didn't hear her. Mrs. Tang naturally followed her in to see what was going on. At the door, she heard the shocking news from Lu Xinwen. Lan Fun was Tang Yun's childhood friend, and they had a very good relationship. It was only after that incident that they met. It should have been over after such a long time, but she suddenly heard that Lan Fun wanted to jump off the building. What should she do? Mom, I'll go with Wenwen. Tang Yun didn't say anything else as she pulled Lu Xinwen and ran outside. Hey, be careful. Mrs. Tang hurriedly reminded her. Auntie, what's wrong? Lin Yi didn't understand. He only knew that someone wanted to jump off the building. Hey, one of Yun-er's good friends, Lan Fun, got hurt a few years ago. I didn't expect her to want to jump off a building. Mrs. Tang said worriedly. No, I have to go take a look too. But Mrs. Tang hadn't even finished her sentence when Xiaobo heard Lan Fun's name. He charged out the door with a whoosh, chasing after Tang Yun and Xinwen. Lan Fun. Lin Yi shook his head. No wonder Kong Xiaobo was so nervous. Lin Yi, your classmate. Mrs. Tang was confused by Kong Xiaobo's actions. Lin Yi, of course, knew why Kong Xiaobo was acting like this. Auntie, let's go, we'll go as well. There were already a lot of people in front of the building, and it was quite rowdy. Tang Yun and Xinwen, on the other hand, stood outside the crowd, not knowing what to do. Xiaobo ran over as well, and when he raised his head, he froze. The window on the left side of the third floor was completely open, and there was a girl in white lying on top of it. It was Lan Fun from the photo. Although she looked haggard, she still had a delicate beauty to her. Kong Xiaobo's heart skipped a beat. Fun. I'm Lu Xinwen, Wenwen, can you hear me? Lu Xinwen made a trumpet with her hands and shouted. However, Fun, who was on the third floor, didn't seem to hear Lu Xinwen's words at all. She was in a trance, and her eyes were empty as she looked into the distance. Fun, go back, it's dangerous. Tang Yun was also nervous, and didn't know what to do. The people in the shantytown knew that Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen were Xiaofan's best friends. The crowd automatically opened a path for Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen to pass. When they got to the front, they saw Lan Fun's mother, Song Huiping, standing there anxiously. She didn't know what to do, and her eyes were filled with tears. She looked at Fun upstairs, and shouted her name, but Fun ignored her. Auntie Song, Fun. Tang Yun saw Huiping and quickly asked. Ah, Tang Yun, Lu Xinwen, you're here. Hurry and talk to Fun. I don't know what happened, but she locked herself in her room and wanted to jump off the building. Her father went up, but he couldn't open the door, and he's contacting the locksmith company. Huiping was anxious, but she still put her hope on Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen. Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo also squeezed over. Kong Xiaobo looked even more anxious than Tang Yun, and his forehead was covered in sweat. Boss, what should we do? What should we do? Chapter 195. Chapter 195, Shocking Resemblance, Don't Jump, Please Don't Jump. What's wrong with you? You're still young, you have the best years of your life. Kong Xiaobo didn't know why, but he was so excited that he wanted to jump up and down. His voice was shockingly loud, as if there was a loudspeaker in his mouth. Kong Xiaobo's loud voice was much louder than Tang Yun's, Lu Xinwen's, and Huiping's voices. It stood out in the midst of the noisy crowd. This time, the voice attracted the attention of Lan Fun on the third floor. Lan Fun lowered her head in a daze and looked towards the source of the voice. With one look, her face revealed an expression of disbelief. Her eyes also slightly brightened and she became very excited. She muttered to herself. Although her voice was not loud, the people downstairs who were close to her could still hear her clearly. "Zhao Ming, is that you? You finally came to see me." Lan Fan's lips curved into a happy smile. "You came to find me, you didn't abandon me after all." Zhao Ming. Kong Xiaobo didn't understand what Lan Fan was talking about. He looked at Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen, confused. Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen were confused as well, thinking that Lan Fan was hallucinating. But when they turned around and saw Kong Xiaobo's face, Tang Yun couldn't help but call out in surprise. "Wen." He and that Kong Ming. Tang Yun felt that Xiaobo looked familiar, but she didn't pay much attention to it. She knew that he wasn't a good person, and that he must have been a bad student at school. Maybe she'd seen him do something bad before, but she didn't think too much about it. Xiaobo looked familiar, but Tang Yun didn't think too much about it. But today, after hearing Lan Fan's words and looking at Kong Xiaobo's face, Tang Yun had to admit that it was similar. It was too similar. It was hard to link the two together if you didn't think about it in that direction, but if you compared Kong Xiaobo and Kong Ming, the two's facial features, nose, mouth. They weren't exactly the same, but they were shockingly similar. Not good. Lan Fan wouldn't mistake him for Kong Xiaoming, right? Don't make any mistakes. Lu Xinwen was also shocked. How could there be so many coincidences in the world? At this time, a boy who looked like Kong Ming appeared at the scene of Lan Fan jumping off the building. Kong Ming? From Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen's conversation, Kong Xiaobo could guess something. Lan Fan must have been hurt in the past, otherwise she wouldn't have said those strange things. However, the name Kong Ming was like a sharp sword, stabbing into Kong Xiaobo's heart. His face twisted as he clenched his fists tightly. Even his breathing became rapid. "You said that she mistook me for Kong Ming. Yeah, you look so much like the man who abandoned Xiao Fan. You're not his relative, are you?" Lu Xinwen didn't see the strange expression on Kong Xiaobo's face. She thought that he was confused, so she didn't hold back when she spoke. "Go hide, your face is going to collide with mine." "Relatives, huh?" Kong Xiaoming's eyes flashed with a hint of malevolence as he repeated those three words. Lu Xinwen was right. Kong Ming was Kong Xiaobo's relative. He was the grandson of his grandpa's lineage, so technically, he was his second cousin. "What are you mumbling about? Hurry up and hide. Don't let anything happen to you." Lu Xinwen didn't hear what Kong Xiaobo said and frowned. Kong Xiaobo's heart was filled with bitterness and anger. Was she abandoned by his second cousin, Kong Ming? Such a good girl was forced to jump off a building. Just as Kong Xiaobo was in a daze, Lan Fan, who was on the third floor, showed a happy and satisfied smile. "Xiaoming bro. I'm coming, wait for me." Tang Yun, Lu Xinwen, and Song Huiping knew that this wasn't good. Lan Fan's emotions weren't right. Did she take things too hard? "Xiao Fan." Tang Yun called out nervously, but before she could finish, a white shadow fell from the building. "Xiao Fan." Huiping screamed at the top of her lungs. Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen didn't know what to do. They didn't think that Lan Fan would jump off the building without any warning. Lan Fan. Kong Xiaobo rushed up, wanting to catch Lan Fan. But whether it was speed or judgment, he couldn't accurately pinpoint the location of Lan Fan's fall. Lin Yi sighed and chased after him. He quickly pushed Kong Xiaobo to the correct location. But under the current situation, no one would notice these minute changes. Lin Yi was very secretive. People who saw it would only think that he was here with Kong Xiaobo to save her. In a battlefield filled with bullets, it was hard to defend against an enemy's sneak attack. If one couldn't pinpoint the direction, it was almost impossible to walk out alive. Lin Yi pretended to be nervous the moment Xiaofan fell to the ground, but he pushed Kong Xiaobo's arm and caught Xiaofan. With the speed and height of Xiaofan's fall, if one wasn't professionally trained, they wouldn't be able to withstand the gravity of the fall. It was very likely that they would let go again after catching her. Although there was a buffer in between, it could easily cause casualties. So, Lin Yi could only help Kong Xiaobo once. This was a guy who'd been following him around ever since he transferred, calling him boss. He didn't mind helping him save the damsel in distress this time. But when Kong Xiaobo caught Xiaofan firmly, Lin Yi quietly let go of Kong Xiaobo's arm. He believed that Kong Xiaobo wouldn't have noticed anything amiss in the tense situation just now. In a situation like this, there was only nervousness in his heart, and his mind was a mess. Even if he thought about it later, he wouldn't remember it clearly. Xiaofan, Tang Yun, Lu Xinwen, Song Huiping, and the surrounding residents surrounded Kong Xiaobo. They were happy and surprised when they saw that Kong Xiaobo caught Xiaofan. Did Kong Xiaobo catch Xiaofan? Because of the sudden incident, although they had already called the police, it would take some time for the police and fire department to arrive. It was only 10 minutes, and they didn't expect Xiaofan to jump down. Xiaofan, are you okay? Don't scare Mom, are you okay? Song Huiping was the first to rush up and wanted to snatch Xiaofan from Kong Xiaobo's arms. But Kong Xiaobo was also stunned and hugged Xiaofan tightly. Chapter 196. The emotional Kong Xiaobo. Lin Yi had already moved to the side, allowing Kong Xiaobo to be the hero saving the damsel in distress. Lan Fun had fainted, perhaps from the shock of falling from a high place, or perhaps from Kong Xiaobo hugging her too tightly. Huiping felt Lan Fun's nose and let out a sigh of relief when she realized that she was still breathing. Phew. Xinwen gave Kong Xiaobo a thumbs up after seeing that Xiaofan was fine. Amazing, hero. You caught her from so high up. Amazing. Xinwen's words reminded Huiping that the young man in front of her was her daughter's savior. She touched her daughter's skinny cheeks as she thanked Xiaobo profusely. Kid, thank you so much. If it weren't for your bad hand, Arfan wouldn't even know. Song Huiping was so scared that tears rolled down her cheeks. Yeah, it was scary to think about the situation just now. If Kong Xiaobo hadn't caught her, the consequences would have been unimaginable. Auntie, it's what I should do. Kong Xiaobo's face was a little red. He'd saved Lan Fan purely out of love for her. Someone else might not have been so nervous. Kong Xiaobo wasn't a saint, he wasn't a firefighter, he wasn't a police officer, and he definitely wasn't an Ultraman. He wouldn't have rushed over if it wasn't Lan Fan. Let's not talk about whether or not he could be saved. If he didn't manage to save him and ended up injuring himself or even dying, then the loss would outweigh the gain. It wasn't like this hadn't happened before. Someone saw someone jumping from a building and tried to catch them, only to be crushed to death by the falling person instead. That's nothing. Bro, you're amazing. I, Xinwen, admire you. Lu Xinwen didn't notice the look on Kong Xiaobo's face. She patted Kong Xiaobo's shoulder excitedly. If you need anything in the future, you can find us. It was just a coincidence. Xiaobo was being truthful, he didn't even know how he'd managed to catch Lan Fan. Was it a coincidence? Tang Yun looked thoughtfully at Lin Yi, who had already dodged to the side. Her lips curled up slightly. What a strange person. The others didn't notice anything, but Tang Yun, who was attentive, noticed something. When Kong Xiaobo was saving people, Lin Yi rushed over, but he didn't go to pick them up. Instead, he pushed and shoved Kong Xiaobo, which made Tang Yun suspicious. Did the rescue just now have anything to do with him? Tang Yun didn't know why she was paying so much attention to Lin Yi. She moved her gaze away from Lin Yi and focused on Xiaofen. An ear-piercing siren sounded from afar. The sirens of ambulances, police cars, and fire trucks mixed together as they drove towards the alleyway. However, when they learned that the girl had jumped off the building and was caught by someone, although the firemen were surprised, they asked about the situation and left. The police found a few people from the crowd to make statements and understood the cause and effect of the incident. They could only sympathize with Lan Fun's situation. Since they knew that she didn't jump off the building because she was wronged, the police couldn't do anything about it. After all, Kong Xiaoming's abandonment of Lan Fun wasn't right, but it was just a relationship dispute. It wasn't a crime. The nurses in the ambulance took Lan Fun from Xiaobo's hands and put her on a stretcher, getting her into the ambulance. A middle-aged man who looked like a doctor on duty said to the crowd, "Who is the patient's family member? Come up and follow the ambulance to the hospital. Everyone else, disperse. I am Xiaofen's mother." Song Huiping walked up and said to the doctor. The doctor glanced at Song Huiping and nodded, then, "Follow us." Song Huiping quickly followed the doctor into the ambulance. However, Lu Xinwen and Tang Yun, especially Kong Xiaobo, also wanted to go to the hospital. They surrounded the ambulance. "We are her friends. Can we go with her?" Lu Xinwen asked the doctor. "No, this is an ambulance. There aren't many seats. One family member can come in. Which one of you want to go?" The doctor shook his head and explained. Before Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen could say anything, an excited but urgent voice sounded. They turned around and saw that it was Kong Xiaobo. Kong Xiaobo wanted to rush into the ambulance without saying anything. Lin Yi smiled bitterly and pulled him back. Lin Yi, of course, understood his feelings. However, what was he going to do if he rushed into the ambulance? How was he going to explain his relationship with Xiaofen to Song Huiping? He couldn't say that they just met today, right? They didn't even know each other. It was just Kong Xiaobo's love at first sight. Lu Xinwen, follow the ambulance. Lin Yi pulled Kong Xiaobo behind him and said to Lu Xinwen. "Boss, let me go, please." Kong Xiaobo was very excited. It seemed like he wouldn't give up until he got on the ambulance. "Xiaobo." Lin Yi was speechless. "What are you going to do if you go in now?" "You can sit in my car and we can follow behind." "Ugh. That's true." Kong Xiaobo calmed down and nodded embarrassedly. Lin Yi's words woke him up. Indeed, how was he going to explain to Xiaofen's mother if he followed the ambulance now? Lu Xinwen and Tang Yun looked at Kong Xiaobo in surprise. Tang Yun vaguely guessed something. When Kong Xiaobo was at her house, he seemed to be very interested in Lan Fun in the photo. However, Lu Xinwen was confused. She didn't know what was going on with Kong Xiaobo. However, it wasn't the time to ask. The ambulance was still waiting. Lu Xinwen quickly jumped into the ambulance. The door of the ambulance closed and the ambulance sped towards the First People's Hospital. "Are you going?" Lin Yi waited for the ambulance to leave and asked Tang Yun. Tang Yun bit her lips. Although she didn't want to sit in Lin Yi's car, she was worried about Xiaofen. She nodded, and the back seat of the Beetle didn't have a door. They could only get in after putting down the front seat. It was troublesome. However, although Kong Xiaobo was worried about Xiaofen, he didn't forget to create opportunities for Lin Yi and Tang Yun. He gave the front seat to Tang Yun and went to the back seat. Lin Yi had been to the First People's Hospital before. Last time, he injured his leg there. Therefore, he didn't need to follow the ambulance. Lin Yi could find his way there by himself. Even if he didn't have the GPS, he wouldn't get lost. Chapter 197. Chapter 197, sad past. Tang Yun pursed her lips. She wanted to say something, but she felt that it wasn't good to talk about other people's matters behind their backs. Without Xiaofan's permission, it wasn't right. Tang Yun, can't you see through Kong Xiaobo's thoughts? Talk to him about it. Lin Yi was driving, but he was paying attention to Tang Yun and Kong Xiaobo. He knew what Tang Yun was worried about when he saw her hesitation. But Tang Yun hesitated. She could see through Kong Xiaobo's thoughts. If Kong Xiaobo could stay by Xiaofan's side, then Xiaofan might be able to get better. But Xiaofan's life was a bit tragic. Would Kong Xiaobo be able to accept it if she said it out loud? No buts. Kong Xiaobo will be anxious to death if you say it out loud. Lin Yi smiled. Tang Yun sighed and started talking. Xiaofan, me, and Lu Xinwen grew up together in the slums. We have a good relationship. But when we were in the 3rd year of middle school, a boy barged into Xiaofan's life, Kong Mingming. Kong Xiaobo clenched his fist as his expression changed. He had guessed it, but he wanted to confirm it with Tang Yun. Tang Yun couldn't see Kong Xiaobo's expression from the front. She didn't notice the change in his expression. It's Kong Mingming. I didn't expect you to remember this name. Tang Yun had only mentioned the name Kong Mingming to Lu Xinwen once. She didn't expect Kong Xiaobo's memory to be this good. It seemed like he really cared about Xiaofan. As Xiaofan's best friend, Tang Yun naturally hoped that Xiaofan could get better soon. She didn't want to live in depression every day. At that time, she had consulted a doctor, but the doctor said that it was a psychological illness. If she wanted to recover, it would be best for her to start a new relationship and forget about the past. Although Tang Yun didn't support puppy love, special cases should be treated differently. If Kong Xiaobo and Xiaofan could be together, it was something she wanted to see. However, if Kong Xiaobo knew about Xiaofan's situation, there was still a possibility. Lin Yi saw Kong Xiaobo's furious expression from the rearview mirror. He faintly felt that something was wrong. Kong Xiaoming started pursuing Fun. Tang Yun couldn't help but glare at Lin Yi. Kong Xiaoming's family background is very good, and he's very rich. In school, he's one of those rich young masters who have hundreds at his beck and call. Fun, on the other hand, was young and ignorant, and fell for it. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Why are you glaring at me? I'm not a hedonistic young master. Plus, I haven't even started pursuing you yet. What happened before was all a misunderstanding. So, they got together. Tang Yun continued. In the beginning, their relationship was not bad. But later on, Kong Mingming became more and more distant from Xiaofan. Xiaofan asked him what happened, and he suggested breaking up with Xiaofan. Of course, Xiaofan didn't agree. At that time, she had already fallen deeply in love with Kong Mingming. And she had that relationship with him. Tang Yun's face blushed slightly. Although she was already 18 years old and considered an adult, Tang Yun was still a young girl after all. She was still shy when talking about this kind of thing, so she went to find Kong Mingming to ask about it, but she saw that Kong Mingming got into a taxi with another beautiful woman. Xiaofan chased after the taxi unwillingly, shouting Kong Mingming's name. However, Kong Mingming only looked back coldly and didn't let the taxi driver stop. Lu Xinwen and I wanted to stop Xiaofan, but she didn't listen. She stubbornly chased after the taxi, and at that moment, a large truck drove over and knocked Xiaofan down. Even so, Kong Mingming didn't get out of the car to see Xiaofan. He just left. However, a few days later, he transferred to another school and never appeared again. Xiaofan's leg was also crippled. From then on, she could only walk with a limp, and she couldn't walk for a long time. Usually, she had to sit in a wheelchair. After this incident, Xiaofan also dropped out of school. She stayed at home every day, absent-minded. Kong Mingming treated her like this, but she still couldn't forget him. She fantasized that Kong Ming would change his mind. Sigh, Wen and I tried to persuade her many times, but she just wouldn't listen. Fuck. Kong Xiaobo punched the roof of the car. His face was red, and his chest was heaving up and down. He was obviously very angry. Kong Ming, that bastard. Car. The car isn't mine, I borrowed it. Lin Yi sweated profusely. He looked at the car roof that was dented by Kong Xiaobo. He was speechless. Little Chick Chun wouldn't kill him, would she? This was too fucked up. Tang Yun heard Lin Yi's words and felt a bit disdainful. Your brother is already so angry, and you're still worried about the car. You're a rich young master, so why would you care about the repair fee? Xiaobo didn't seem to hear Lin Yi's words, he was still pounding on the roof with his fists. Lin Yi wanted to cry, but no tears would come out of it, the guy was pretty strong when he exploded. It seemed that he had to get Faubert to repair the car when he got back. He couldn't let little Chick Chun see it, or else he'd be dead for sure. She probably wouldn't borrow his car anymore. But how should he tell Faubert? Well, he'd say that he was attacked by Chu Pengzhan's enemies. He was there when he talked about the two unlucky golden class masters anyway. He'd just say that Sihua sent people to do it. Haha, he was too much of a genius, Lin Yi thought. Xiaobo was in a state of extreme indignation, it was as if he could see a frail girl stumbling behind a taxi, looking at the man and the beautiful woman in the car in despair. She screamed at the top of her lungs, wanting to stop the man in the taxi, but she was powerless. Just as her heart was breaking, a truck drove over and knocked her down. The man in the taxi, on the other hand, didn't even get out of the car and left directly. Xiaofan, on the other hand, was lying in a pool of blood, but her heart was still thinking about that despicable man. Kong Ming. Kong Xiaobo's face became twisted. If it was someone else, Kong Xiaobo wouldn't be like this, but this person was his second cousin brother. The second cousin brother who looked down on him and laughed at him since he was young, Fu. Kong Xiaobo let out a long breath and looked at the dent in the roof. He was a little embarrassed. Boss, I was a little too emotional, forget it, it's nothing. Lin Yi had already thought of a solution. He smiled and said to Kong Xiaobo, Xiaobo, what do you think? Chapter 198. Tang Yun's worries, boss. I want to try and get in touch with Xiaofan. Kong Xiaobo said after some hesitation. This was the first girl he'd fallen for so much it had only been a few short hours, but Xiaofan's face was etched deep into his heart. His feelings for Tang Yun, Meng Yao, and Yushu were just admiration and admiration. He knew that it wasn't possible, and he was just fantasizing about it. But it was different for Lan Fun. Kong Xiaobo didn't know what love was at first sight, but he had a good impression of her the moment he saw her picture. Especially when he saw that frail figure slowly falling from the third floor's windowsill. Kong Xiaobo's heart felt like it was breaking. After listening to Tang Yun's story, Kong Xiaobo felt even more affection for the poor girl, but he was also feeling impulsive right now. It was an impulse that didn't care about the consequences, and it might change after he calmed down. Lin Yi, naturally, understood Kong Xiaobo's feelings. He nodded and didn't say anything. We'll talk when we get to the hospital. Tang Yun could see Kong Xiaobo's hesitation as well. She sighed and didn't say anything. She glared at Lin Yi. You young masters only know how to harm girls. Me? Lin Yi blinked. I'm not a young master, am I? Tang Yun curled her lips and ignored him. Kong Xiaobo was depressed after his anger. He kept his head down, not knowing what he was thinking. Lin Yi parked the car in the parking lot of Songshan's first hospital, and the three went to the emergency room. They found a doctor on duty in the emergency room, and Xiaobo took the lead. Doctor, can I ask, how's Lan Fun? Lan Fun? You mean the girl who jumped off the building just now? The doctor flipped through the records on the table. Lan Fan's fine, but she fainted from exhaustion and shock. She's in the emergency room 6. She might need to be hospitalized for observation. Who are you guys to her? We're her friends. Thank you, doctor. Kong Xiaobo said as he went to find Lan Fan. Wait, you guys need to settle the medical fees and procedures first. Lan Fan's family only paid 300 kuai as a deposit, it's not enough. The doctor stopped Kong Xiaobo. Ah. Alright, we'll do it right away. Xiaobo said without thinking. Where do we do it? He needs to stay in the hospital for observation. The patient's physical condition is very poor and very weak. Let's stay in the hospital for a week. I'll write the procedures for you, the doctor said. All right. Xiaobo nodded, he'd listen to whatever the doctor said. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. Did Kong Xiaobo really fall for Lan Fan? Although it was a little dramatic, this was an age that was full of drama. The pure love between a young man and a young woman was stubborn and impulsive. Was this Kong Xiaobo's first love? A man's first love was always impulsive. He'd go through fire and water, he'd be hot-headed. However, would he continue to date Lan Fan after he calmed down? He glanced at Tang Yun and saw that she was still staring at him angrily. What's wrong? Lin Yi was curious about Tang Yun's attitude today. She was indifferent to him before, but after getting in the car, she seemed to have changed back to the old Tang Yun. Tang Yun looked at Kong Xiaobo and turned around to look at Lin Yi. Let me ask you something. Huh? Lin Yi paused and looked at Tang Yun in confusion. What are you thinking? Tang Yun bit her lips and lowered her head shyly as she asked. What are you thinking? Lin Yi didn't understand. Xiao Fan and Kong Xiaobo. It depends on Kong Xiaobo. I'm not talking about him, I'm talking about you. Tang Yun raised her head and looked at Lin Yi. That night, I asked you. Do you want to be friends with me? Lin Yi didn't think that Tang Yun was still thinking about this. He nodded. Since he talked to his old man and decided to stay here for a long time, he didn't have to worry about anything. Then do you want to play or stay with me in the future? Tang Yun frowned and looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi, if you just want to play, can you stay away from me, my mom, and my family? I'm not Xiao Fan. She was young and ignorant, but I'm already 18. I won't fall for your tricks. Ugh. Lin Yi was speechless. He didn't think that Tang Yun would ask such a question. What do I want to play? I don't have that much time to play. Do I look like I'm playing? Fine. If you don't want to play and want to be with me, then don't bother me during this time, okay? Let me focus on getting into university. I don't want to be distracted at this time. Tang Yun's delicate face had a trace of stubbornness. If you still want to be friends with me at that time, then I will agree. Tang Yun's showdown with Lin Yi today was the result of thinking for a few days. Tang Yun didn't know how she felt about Lin Yi. She only knew that he had helped her family a lot, and she owed him too many favors. But Tang Yun naturally wouldn't go out with Lin Yi just to repay him. It was undeniable that Tang Yun's heart didn't reject this man who suddenly came into her life. While she was panicking, Tang Yun put on a cold face and faced Lin Yi. Tang Yun was afraid. She was afraid that she would fall too deep. Although she didn't admit that she had puppy love, the hatred she had for Lin Yi was getting lesser and lesser. What replaced it was gratitude and an inexplicable throbbing, especially after Lu Xinwen asked about her and Lin Yi. Tang Yun's heart couldn't calm down. Even in her dreams, she dreamed of Lin Yi. The most infuriating part was that she dreamed of kissing him. It was a strange dream, and it didn't feel real. Lin Yi's face wasn't clear in the dream, but Tang Yun knew that it was Lin Yi when she woke up from the dream. She had a wet dream, and the first one was Lin Yi. Tang Yun, of course, knew that it was normal to have wet dreams during puberty. The person in the dream was usually the person you liked in real life. This was what Tang Yun saw in a health textbook. But the more it was like this, the more panicked Tang Yun felt. She was afraid that she would slowly develop feelings for Lin Yi and be with him. Chapter 199. Chapter 199, picking up her wallet with no other choice, Tang Yun decided to lay her cards on the table with Lin Yi. She needed to make things clear to Lin Yi, otherwise Lin Yi wouldn't show up at her house all the time. If Lin Yi was just playing around, then she'd tell him to stay away from her and stop bothering her. If he was serious, then Tang Yun had a deadline, and that was after the college entrance exams. First, she could focus on studying for the exams, and not let these things affect her grades. Second, it was a test for Lin Yi. If he was just playing around, then he wouldn't have that much patience. He'd have fallen in love with someone else a few months after the college entrance exams. If Lin Yi really wanted to wait until after her college entrance exams, then she could give him a chance. College was a paradise for love. Tang Yun was a good girl, but she still yearned for a romantic relationship. Lin Yi didn't expect Tang Yun to say something like this. Was it rejection or acceptance? Rejection or acceptance? Lin Yi wanted to say something, but Tang Yun had already turned around and walked towards Kong Xiaobo. Lin Yi quickly chased after her. Tang Yun had returned to her usual calmness, as if she hadn't said anything. Tang Yun was still the same Tang Yun from before, but there was a hint of shyness in her eyes, making her look even more beautiful. It made Lin Yi's heart beat faster. He came to the payment window and saw Kong Xiaobo standing there in a daze with the bill in his hand. Lin Yi asked, "Xiaobo, are you done with the procedures?" "Boss, the deposit is 10,000, I don't have enough." Kong Xiaobo was a little embarrassed. He was the one who rushed over with the bill, but he didn't have the money. "Oh." Lin Yi paused and looked at Tang Yun. "Isn't Xiaofen's mother here?" "Xiaofen's family isn't much better off than mine. We've spent quite a lot of money on Xiaofen's medical bills, and we're still in debt. We don't have any extra money left." Tang Yun sighed. "Are you willing to pay for it first? I promise Xiaofen's family will return it to you in the future." "Me?" Lin Yi wasn't a busybody. Lin Yi never cared about people who had nothing to do with him. However, Xiaofen was different. No matter what, she was someone that Kong Xiaobo was interested in. Lin Yi would naturally help her if he could. However, Lin Yi didn't bring the credit card that Faubert gave him. He didn't spend much money, so he just threw the card in the drawer at home. Other than the 1,000 kuai he got from Sun Jingyi, he had Qintian's wallet. Lin Yi first gave the 1,000 kuai to Kong Xiaobo, and then opened Qintian's wallet. There were about 3,000 to 5,000 RMB in the wallet, and the rest were all USD. However, the denominations were quite large. There were 500 and 1,000 USD. This kind of USD was no longer in the market, but it wasn't voided. However, it was kept as a collectible because the price of a single USD had exceeded its denomination. No one would spend it with USD. Qintian obviously didn't put so much USD in his wallet for spending, but to show off. Lin Yi had seen a few of these people before, and he could see that House Wu was quite powerful. Lin Yi passed all the RMB to Kong Xiaobo. "Can you ask USD?" Kong Xiaobo gratefully took the money from Lin Yi and ran to the counter. "Can I ask if USD is fine?" "Yes, but you can only pay the deposit, not the settlement." "You must pay with RMB, the worker said. "Okay, thank you." Kong Xiaobo let out a sigh of relief and ran to Lin Yi. "Boss, USD is fine too, but you can only pay the deposit, not the settlement." "Okay, go pay it then." Lin Yi handed all the $100 bills he had in his wallet to Xiaobo. As for the $500 and $1,000 bills, the cashier wouldn't be able to recognize them, they'd probably think it was fake. I didn't know that you were so rich. You even have USD, Tang Yun looked at Lin Yi mockingly. Didn't he admit that he was a young master? If he wasn't a young master, how could he have so much money? Oh, you mean this wallet? I picked it up, Lin Yi shrugged. Picked it up. Tang Yun paused and got angry. Did he think she was an idiot? Where did he pick it up? Why couldn't she pick it up? Look at the ID if you don't believe me. Lin Yi took out Qintian's ID and waved it in front of Tang Yun. Ah! Tang Yun's eyes widened in disbelief. This wallet really didn't belong to Lin Yi. He really picked it up. You really picked it up. Then. You still dare to spend the money in there? Weren't you the one who told me to pay first? Lin Yi said as he stuffed his ID back into his pocket. Tang Yun didn't know what to say. How worried would he be if you didn't give it to the owner? Ah, the owner doesn't need to be worried, Lin Yi smiled, he gave it to me. Wu Chentian would be worried. If he was worried, then let him be. Lin Yi wasn't afraid of Qintian at all. At the end of the day, Qintian could only suffer in silence. Chapter 200. Chapter 200, Fun's illness. When he arrived at room 6, he saw Song Huiping and Lu Xinwen sitting on the innermost bed. It was a 4-person room, and the other 3 beds had patients on them as well. Kong Xiaobo didn't care about Huiping's weird stare. He rushed over and let out a sigh of relief when he saw Lan Fun on the bed. He knew from the doctor that Lan Fun was fine, but he didn't see it with his own eyes, so he was still worried. Yun, you're here. Lu Xinwen saw Tang Yun and quickly greeted her. Her eyes stopped on Lin Yi, who was beside Tang Yun, and a hint of playfulness appeared in her eyes. Wen, how's Fun? Tang Yun felt a little uncomfortable being stared at by Xinwen. She moved to the side, putting some distance between them. Xiaofan is fine, but the doctor said that her body is too weak. She needs to be hospitalized for observation, so she needs to pay a deposit of 10,000 yuan. Lu Xinwen walked over and lowered her voice, but you and I both know about Xiaofan's family situation. Can we help her? I'll let Lin Yi pay for it first. Tang Yun felt uncomfortable after saying that. Lu Xinwen had misunderstood her relationship with Lin Yi, and now that she said that, didn't it prove that she was related to Lin Yi? Otherwise, why would he pay 10,000 yuan for Fun? Lin Yi? Lu Xinwen looked at Lin Yi, surprised. Yun, you and him, it's not what you think. I've already told him everything. I'll talk to you when I have time. Let's take a look at Fun first. Tang Yun whispered. Oh. Lu Xinwen didn't believe Tang Yun's words. From Tang Yun's behavior, it seemed like she was in love. Didn't she see Fun's lesson? Was she going to follow after her? It seemed like he could only watch Tang Yun closely from the sidelines. He didn't want her to fall into Lin Yi's trap. Kong Xiaobo rushed to Xiaofan's bed without thinking too much. At that time, he just wanted to take a look at Xiaofan. But after rushing over, he didn't know what to do next. He wanted to touch Xiaofan's forehead, but he didn't dare to. Student, you are. Song Huiping had never seen Kong Xiaobo before. She was a little confused by her daughter Xavier's sudden appearance today. Auntie, my name is Kong Xiaobo. Kong Xiaobo awkwardly introduced himself. I'm Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen's classmate. Oh. Thank you so much for today. If it wasn't for you, Xiaofan still wouldn't know. Song Huiping remembered the dangerous situation and couldn't help but cry. This child has a hard life. Auntie, don't be emotional. Isn't Xiaofan fine now? Kong Xiaobo didn't know what to do seeing Song Huiping cry. He quickly comforted her. Auntie, it's all in the past. Don't be sad. Yeah, it's all in the past. Huiping nodded and stood up. Young man, Tang Yun, Lu Xinwen, you guys help me take care of Fun. I need to go back and collect money. The doctor said that I need to pay 10,000 kuai for her, Auntie, it's fine. I've already paid. Kong Xiaobo quickly said and passed the bill to Song Huiping. Ah! Song Huiping was surprised. She took the bill and saw that it was 6,000 RMB and 1,000 USD as a deposit. No matter how dumb Song Huiping was, she felt that something was wrong. Not only had Xiaobo saved her daughter, but he'd even gone through all that trouble and put down the deposit. Huiping wouldn't believe it if Xiaobo said that it was all out of kindness. Child, you. Song Huiping's hands trembled as she looked at the bill. So much money, what are you? Kong Xiaobo was embarrassed by Huiping's gaze and quickly explained, Auntie, my boss paid for it first, your boss. Huiping was puzzled. Where did this boss come from? Auntie Song, my classmate Lin Yi paid for it, Tang Yun explained, it's him. Lin Yi was pushed to the front and could only greet Huiping, hello, Auntie. Huiping didn't know what to say, she'd thought that Xiaobo was interested in her daughter, but she wasn't too sure about it. Now that she heard that Lin Yi was the one paying for her daughter's hospital fees, who was this Lin Yi? Young man. You. Huiping looked at Lin Yi, confused. Lin Yi didn't say anything before, so Huiping naturally ignored Lin Yi. Now, she saw a person who had no contact with her family pay for her family's hospital fees. Why was he doing this? Ah. Auntie, I'm Tang Yun's good friend. Lin Yi said in a flirtatious tone. Ah. Oh. Huiping misunderstood. She misunderstood the relationship between Lin Yi and Tang Yun. If Lin Yi was just a friend of Tang Yun's, why would he pay for Tang Yun's friend's hospital fees? Tang Yun also heard the ambiguity in Lin Yi's words. She glared at him and was a bit annoyed. This person really went too far. She already told him everything, but he still wanted more. However, Tang Yun couldn't explain in this situation. The more she explained, the more complicated it would be. She could only pretend that she didn't hear it. At this time, Xiaofun let out a weak moan. Everyone's attention was focused on Xiaofun. Huiping didn't care about Lin Yi and quickly turned around, Xiaofun, are you awake? Mom. Where am I? Xiaofun looked at the 4 drip on her hand in confusion and looked around the room. Xiaofun, you're awake. You don't remember. You wanted to jump off a building? Huiping quickly ran over and held her daughter's hand. Jump off a building? Why would I jump off a building? Xiaofun opened her mouth. You don't remember. It's best if you don't remember. Huiping said, Xiaofun, you're sleepwalking again. You dreamt of that bastard. You wanted to jump off a building, from the 3rd floor of our house. Ah. Xiaofun was shocked by her mother's words. She wanted to jump off a building. Why didn't she remember it at all? Then did I jump? Of course not. If it wasn't for this classmate who caught you downstairs, Xiaofun, you would've. Huiping's voice choked again. Xiaofun seemed to know that there was something wrong with her body. She didn't doubt her mother's words. She quietly turned around and looked at Kong Xiaobo. However, when she looked at Kong Xiaobo, her eyes suddenly froze. It was as if she was about to fall into a hallucination again. Chapter 201. Intermittent mental illness in the ward. Kong Xiaobo, Tang Yun, and Xinwen were shocked as well. It was the same every time Xiaofun acted up. She would fall into hallucinations and go crazy for a while before slowly falling asleep. She wouldn't remember anything when she woke up. This time, she jumped off the building. It was the result of her going crazy. Intermittent mental illness. Lin Yi sighed faintly. Xiaofun's feelings had been hurt, and it created a psychological barrier. Due to poor guidance, she became like this. However, intermittent mental illness was different from mental illness. It was only the early symptoms of mental illness. With proper guidance and acupuncture, the symptoms could be alleviated and eradicated. Huiping heard Kong Xiaoming's name and looked at Xiaobo, a look of surprise on her face as well. Xiaobo did look a little like that bad guy. Huiping frowned at the thought, no wonder her daughter was acting up all of a sudden, no wonder she jumped off the building. It was all because of this student. But thinking about it, she couldn't blame him for what he looked like. Plus, he was her daughter's savior. How could she hate him? Xiaoming, you still have me in your heart, right? Xiaofan looked at Kong Xiaobo with blurred eyes. She waved her arms, wanting to get off the bed to look for Kong Xiaobo. The needle in her hand almost fell. Xiaobo jumped in fright, afraid that she'd get off the bed. He ran over to her, but Fan wrapped her arms around him, not letting go. Xiaoming, you finally came back to see me. You won't leave this time, right? You'll treat me well for the rest of your life, right? Xiaofan hugged Kong Xiaobo and said. I. Kong Xiaobo was awkward, this was the scene he was looking forward to. Kong Xiaobo thought that it was just a fantasy when he held Xiaofan in his arms. But now that his fantasy had become reality, he couldn't feel happy at all. Because of Xiaofan's illness, and also because Xiaofan was thinking about another man. Although Xiaofan was hugging him, Kong Xiaobo, he was another man, Kong Mingming's substitute. Kong Xiaobo wanted to let go of Xiaofan. This kind of hug made Kong Xiaobo feel uncomfortable. He didn't want this kind of hug, he wanted a sincere hug from Xiaofan when she's awake. Anti-song. Kong Xiaobo looked up at Huiping. I'm sorry, classmate. Huiping said helplessly. Wait for me, I'll call the doctor. The only thing Huiping could do was call the doctor. She had no other choice. Wait. Lin Yi sighed slightly. Since this matter happened to him, and it was related to Kong Xiaobo, then Lin Yi really couldn't ignore it. The hospital could only use electric shocks or injections to calm Xiaofan down, but no matter which method it was, it would be harmful to the body. Especially since Xiaofan's body was extremely weak right now. If they injected drugs or made her fall into a coma, her body would become even weaker. Lin Yi didn't wait for Huiping to reply and quickly walked to Xiaofan's side. He looked at the foredrip in her hand and saw that the needle was rolling. He pulled it out without hesitation and turned off the foredrip. Then, he used the needle to quickly pierce into Xiaofan's Higu, Jianshi, Shenmen, Baihui, Daling, and other acupuncture points. Xiaofan slowly calmed down and let go of Kong Xiaobo. Then, she quietly fell back onto the bed. Huiping saw that Lin Yi was using needles to pierce her daughter. She wanted to stop him, but Lin Yi's movements were too fast. He was done before she could stop him. In the ward, Tang Yun, Lu Xinwen, and Kong Xiaobo looked at Lin Yi in shock. They didn't know what he was doing. Boss, you. Kong Xiaobo subconsciously chose to believe Lin Yi. Although he cared about Xiaofan, his instinct told him that Lin Yi would never harm Xiaofan. So, he felt that Lin Yi was doing this for a reason. It's just simple acupuncture. Lin Yi shrugged, she will temporarily calm down and fall asleep. When she wakes up, she will be back to normal. Ah. Acupuncture. Kong Xiaobo looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Boss, you know acupuncture. Not only Kong Xiaobo, but Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen also looked at Lin Yi in surprise. He knew acupuncture. Huiping went to check her daughter's breathing. She was relieved when she realized that there was no problem. Lin Yi used such a simple method to calm her daughter down. It saved her the trouble of calling a doctor. Not only did it save her medical fees, but her daughter didn't have to suffer any pain. Tang Yun felt that she couldn't understand the man in front of her anymore. He was a rich young master, but he didn't seem to be one. However, he was more domineering than those rich young masters. He wouldn't hold back when dealing with people. However, he knew the recipe for barbecue. It wasn't something that could be made easily. Lin Yi wrote it down in just one lesson. This wasn't the big deal. Today, when Lan Fan jumped off the building, no one noticed Lin Yi, but Tang Yun did. Was he the one who helped Kong Xiaobo catch Lan Fan? Lin Yi showed his amazing acupuncture skills before she could dispel her suspicions. Tang Yun couldn't help but reevaluate Lin Yi. He was different from the rich young masters Xiao Fan knew. So what if he was different? Tang Yun thought to herself. Even if he was different, she wouldn't be friends with him. Her first priority was to face the exams. She couldn't be distracted by this. Humph, little Tang Yun reminded herself that this was just his appearance. Don't be fooled by him, don't ever. However, the commotion in the room still alerted the doctors. The family members of the patients in the same room went to find the doctors. A doctor ran over. What happened to the patient in bed 4? It's fine, doctor. Sorry for troubling you. She's fine now. Hui Ping stood up and explained when she saw the doctor. Is everything all right? The doctor was stunned. Didn't they say that the patient on the 4th bed had a mental illness and was going crazy? This student used acupuncture to make my daughter fall asleep, Hui Ping explained, afraid that the doctor wouldn't believe her. Lin Yi couldn't help but groan inwardly. It would have been fine if she didn't explain. Now that she did, things would be troublesome. As expected, the doctor's expression changed immediately. Acupuncture? How do you do it? How can you mess around in the hospital? What if someone dies? I'm not messing around. He just used the needle of the drip. Hui Ping said carefully, shocked. Chapter 202. Chapter 202, Guan Xueming's disciple. The doctor wasn't an TCM doctor, but he had some knowledge of TCM back when he was in medical school. Who in the world would use needles for acupuncture? The needle of the drip wasn't as thick as the needle of a syringe, but it still wouldn't do. The thickness of the needle would cause damage to the nerves and blood vessels, and he hadn't seen any doctors using it before. Of course, that didn't exclude the possibility of emergency situations where there weren't enough needles for acupuncture. Some of the top doctors in TCM would use other needles instead of needles to treat patients. But that required a solid foundation and experience, as well as a strict requirement on the strength of the hand. If the needle was too shallow or too deep, not only would there be no effect, there might even be side effects. Isn't this messing around? Who did this? The doctor was enraged, pointing at Lin Yi. Was it you? What if something happens to the patient if you mess around in the hospital? Won't our hospital be held responsible? Lil Wang, call the police. The doctor was so angry that he ordered the nurse behind him. Okay. The nurse nodded, preparing to call the police. Although Lin Yi knew the people in the police station, Lin Yi didn't want to make a big deal out of it. Moreover, judging from Kong Xiaobo's current state, he might need help with Xiaofan's treatment in the future. So, Lin Yi had no choice but to tell the doctor once and for all. I'm not messing around, I'm Guan Xueming's disciple. Who's Guan Xueming? What? The top doctor in TCM, Guan Xueming? The doctor immediately realized who Guan Xueming was. He looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. He was also a graduate of Songshan Medical University, so he naturally knew of Xueming, a leading figure in the Chinese medicine world. Back then, whether it was Chinese medicine or Western medicine, all of them were proud to be able to listen to Xueming's lecture. If this person was really Guan Xueming's disciple, then it wouldn't be strange for him to use needles like that. Special circumstances were special. Lin Yi nodded. If you don't believe me, I can call him. The doctor saw Lin Yi's solemn expression, and he didn't seem to be lying. He also checked Lan Fan's condition, and there was nothing serious. She was just unconscious, so he somewhat believed Lin Yi's words. Are you really Miracle Dr. Guan's disciple? The doctor asked. I'll make a call. With that, he pulled out his phone and dialed in the number Xuemin had left for him. In order to interfere with Xiaofen's treatment in the future, Lin Yi could only bring out Guan Xuemin. Xuemin had just finished when the phone on the table rang. Xuemin furrowed his brows. He'd already strictly told his friends when to pick up the phone, and no matter if they were seeking treatment from him or from the medical world, they were all forbidden from calling between 9 and 11 in the morning. This was Xuemin's treatment time. Although Guan Xuemin was a little angry, he still picked up the phone after all. Hello. I'm Guan Xuemin. Xuemin's tone was a little unfriendly. Grandpa Guan, I'm Lin Yi. Lin Yi paused when he heard Xuemin's tone. Ah, it's Mr. Lin. Xuemin was a little excited when he heard Lin Yi's voice. He'd learned a lot from Lin Yi's last visit, and he'd been thinking about the prescriptions and cases Lin Yi had given him. It felt like he was suddenly enlightened. Xuemin wasn't sure how to invite Lin Yi for a second visit when Lin Yi took the initiative to call. Xuemin was pleasantly surprised. Grandpa Guan, I'm at Songshan's First People's Hospital, and I need to help a patient with acupuncture. I said I'm your disciple, but the doctors here don't believe me. Please prove it for me, Lin Yi said. Disciple? Xuemin was surprised. I can't do that. I'm more like your disciple. Xuemin wasn't the kind of person who would take advantage of his seniority. If Lin Yi was better than him, then he was better. Therefore, Xuemin didn't dare to call himself Lin Yi's teacher. Alright, I'll pass the phone to the doctor here. Lin Yi didn't explain further. He believed that Xuemin would understand. After Lin Yi finished speaking, he passed the phone to the doctor in the ward. The doctor quickly took the phone in fear and looked at the number on the screen. It was indeed Xuemin's home phone. Every medical student knew about Xuemin's home phone. It wasn't a secret since it was recorded in the school's contact handbook. After confirming that it was Xuemin, the doctor said carefully, Professor Guan, I'm Wang Ligua from Songshan's First People's Hospital. I graduated in 2003, and I'm your student. Wang Ligua didn't care whether Xuemin remembered him or not. He graduated from Songshan Medical College and listened to Xuemin's class. This honor was enough to make others jealous. Oh, little Wang, Lin Yi's knowledge in Chinese medicine is no less than mine. If he has any suggestions, just listen to him. Xuemin was a practical person. He didn't want to become Lin Yi's teacher for no reason. Therefore, he could only give a vague hint. Don't worry, Professor Guan. Wang Ligua was shocked. It seemed like Lin Yi had already graduated. To receive such praise from Xuemin. After hanging up the phone, Wang Ligua's attitude immediately changed. I'm sorry, Mr. Lin. I didn't know you were Professor Guan's disciple. I offended you just now. It's fine. Lin Yi waved his hand. It was an emergency. I had no choice. I'll leave the rest of the treatment to you. No problem, Mr. Lin. Don't worry, I'll follow up personally. With this relationship, Wang Ligua would naturally pay more attention to Lan Fen's condition. Song Huiping thought that her words caused trouble for Lin Yi. She didn't know how to explain herself. She didn't expect that one call from Lin Yi would change Dr. Wang's attitude and make him even more respectful. Of course, the most surprised person was Tang Yun. She looked at Lin Yi in confusion. However, there were too many people here. Even if she had questions, she didn't ask. Auntie, there's nothing else here. Xiaobo and I will go back first. We'll visit Xiaofen after her condition stabilizes. Lin Yi saw that there was nothing else for him to do here. He stood up and prepared to leave. Kong Xiaobo heard Lin Yi's words. He didn't want to leave, but after receiving a glare from Lin Yi, he obediently prepared to leave. Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen naturally stayed to take care of Xiaofan. Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo left the hospital. Chapter 203. The loser will confess, I know a little. Lin Yi nodded. Boss, is it like what they say on TV, where a needle can cure 100 illnesses? Kong Xiaobo asked curiously. I can definitely cure 100 illnesses, but my ability is limited. Lin Yi smiled. Traditional Chinese medicine is broad and profound, and it's said that acupuncture can cure 100 illnesses. But those who truly grasp this skill and master it are few and far between. Oh. Kong Xiaobo nodded. Then Xiaofan's illness, her illness is mainly psychological, and she should be able to recover if we can help her, Lin Yi said. Kong Xiaobo was just curious, and didn't pursue the topic after hearing Lin Yi's words. Boss, why did you drag me away? I wanted to wait for Xiaofan to wake up, can't you see that her emotions are unstable? She thinks of Kong Mingming whenever she sees you. Lin Yi said. Do you want her to act up when she wakes up? Kong Xiaobo froze. Why didn't he think of that? Indeed, Xiaofan went crazy twice because she saw him. The first time was when she suddenly jumped off the building, and the second time was in the hospital room. If it wasn't for him, she wouldn't be like that. We'll come back after she stabilizes, Lin Yi said. Oh, then where are we going now? Are we going back for barbecue? Kong Xiaobo asked. What's there to eat? Tang Yun is in the hospital, and you still have the nerve to go back. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. We'll talk about it next time. That's true. But it's not like we didn't gain anything today. Kong Xiaobo was excited to be able to have intimate contact with Lan Fen today. Who is that Kong Mingming to you? In the car, Lin Yi suddenly asked. Previously, when Lu Xinwen mentioned the name Kong Mingming, Lin Yi noticed that Kong Xiaobo's expression was a bit abnormal. This person looked similar to Kong Xiaobo, and they both had the surname Kong, so it was not difficult to infer that they should be related. Boss. Xiaobo clenched his fist. I won't lie to you, he's the one I told you about, the grandson of my eldest grandpa, my second cousin, just as I expected. Lin Yi nodded. Xiaobo, what do you think? Kong Xiaobo lowered his head and became silent. Lin Yi didn't rush him to answer. Instead, he quietly drove, in Menyao's villa. Su Shihan's concert is amazing, it'd be great if I could be there. Yushu said as she turned off the TV. Yao Yao, why don't you talk to Uncle Chu and ask him to sponsor Su Shihan for a concert here? Daddy's company isn't some kid's playhouse, you can't just do whatever you want. Mengyao said as she patted Yushu. Shu, are you big boobs and no brains? My boobs aren't big, it's Yao Yao that's too small. Ling Shan is the one who's big. Yushu, of course, wouldn't allow herself to be deformed. She had the perfect body. What do you mean my boobs are too small? Can't I develop late? Mengyao raged. With those boobs of yours, you'll become a burden sooner or later. Hee hee. I don't think so, right? Yushu made a face at Mengyao, not daring to say anything else. She quickly changed the topic. Yao Yao, what should we play? How would I know? Mengyao was still angry. Maybe we should go shopping. Yushu suggested. No way. Mengyao was much stronger than Yushu when it came to the big picture. We almost got into trouble at the bar last time. Daddy's company might be in trouble, we can't cause trouble for him. Oh. Yushu was a little disappointed. Shield Bro left early in the morning, otherwise we wouldn't be afraid. Do you really think he's invincible? Mengyao curled her lips. He's only good at teaching Pinliang and his gang a lesson, what can he do if he meets someone stronger? I think Shield Bro's pretty strong. Yushu disagreed. Didn't he come back safe and sound that day? He's fast, isn't he? Meng Yao said. Shu, do you like him? What do I like? Uncle Chu wants a son-in-law. Yushu blushed. Alright, Yao Yao, let's not talk about him. You said it first. Meng Yao didn't hold back at all. Hee hee. Yushu blinked. Why don't we play hide and seek? Hide and seek. Meng Yao looked at Yushu, confused. Hide and seek how? In this villa? It's not that big, we can find it anywhere. Don't we have the garage and the yard? Yushu wasn't someone who could stay idle. We'll each hide once, and each person has 10 minutes to find the other person. Whoever can't find the other person loses. Yeah, it's more fun if there's a time limit. Meng Yao remembered the hide and seek they used to play when they were younger. It was a little nostalgic now. Hee hee, right? Yushu was happy to see Meng Yao agree. Let's set something else, it'll be fun. It won't be exciting anymore. Something. What do you want? Meng Yao asked. Forget about money, I'm not interested. It wasn't surprising, after all. Neither of them needed money, and 100 or 200 wasn't worth it at all. How low would that be? Yushu shook her head. Let's play something more exciting. What exciting? Meng Yao's interest was piqued. Their 12th year was boring. They could always find time to go on a trip every year, but now that they were in the 12th year, they didn't even have a chance to go far. Every day was between school and home, and it was extremely boring. The loser has to confess to Shield Bro tonight, what do you think? Yushu suggested as she looked at Meng Yao mischievously. Wah. Meng Yao didn't know how to react to Yushu's words. It took her a while to respond. Shu, why are you so bad? Aren't you afraid that you'll be the one who loses? Hee hee, how do you know that I'll lose for sure? But I might not win, so we both have a 50% chance of winning. It's more exciting. Yushu said. But, isn't this a little too much? Meng Yao hesitated. It was just as Yushu said, it was a lot more exciting, but wasn't this a little too much? What if she lost? Confess to Lin Yi? Why didn't he just kill her? Think about it, Yao Yao. You have a big chance of winning. This is your villa, you're more familiar with it than I am. Right? Yushu tempted. Chapter 204. Chapter 204, Treacherous. In the first round, Meng Yao would hide first, while Yushu would search. According to the rules, Yushu would hide in the washroom on the first floor and shut the door. She wouldn't be allowed to come out until Meng Yao rang her phone to let her know that she was safe. Heh heh, Yao Yao, just wait for your confession tonight, heh heh. Yushu giggled evilly in the washroom. She'd found a perfect hiding spot before suggesting the game of hide and seek. She believed that Meng Yao wouldn't be able to find it anytime soon. Yushu was confident that she'd win, which was why she'd suggested such a bet. She was sure that she'd win, and Meng Yao would lose. Yushu's phone vibrated a while later. It was Meng Yao's number. She hung up the phone and walked out of the washroom. Yushu wasn't in a hurry to look for Meng Yao's hiding place after exiting the washroom. She stood in the living room and started observing the place. This was Meng Yao's house, but Yushu had been living in Meng Yao's house since she was 14. She couldn't be more familiar with the place. Meng Yao's hiding spot couldn't be a normal place, and it couldn't be some corner of the house. After all, Yushu knew every corner of the house she knew, and Yushu would search those places one by one. As a result, Yushu wasn't in a hurry to search those corners of the house, since Meng Yao wouldn't be hiding there waiting for her to find her. A sly smile formed on Yushu's lips as she looked at Lin Yi's room. Lin Yi's door had been left ajar during the concert, and Yushu hadn't gone to look at Lin Yi's room on purpose. She'd glanced at Lin Yi's room out of guilt when she talked about confessing to Shield Bro, and so she'd memorized the appearance of Lin Yi's door. But right now, Lin Yi's door was completely shut. Where else could Meng Yao be if not in the room? Yushu tiptoed to Lin Yi's room and opened the door with a smile. "Yao Yao sis, come out, I can already see you." With that, Yushu waited for Meng Yao to come out of the room with a confident look on her face. But Meng Yao hadn't come out of the room for a long time, and Yushu was starting to panic. "Yao Yao sis, don't hide anymore, come out." Yushu walked into the room as she spoke. Yushu wasn't unfamiliar with Lin Yi's room. She'd been there once before when Lin Yi was changing his pants. She'd even blushed when she saw him. Yushu's eyes darted around the room. Her computer was on the desk, but there was no one under the desk. Under the bed, there was no way to hide anyone. The wardrobe was basically empty, with only 2 or 3 of Lin Yi's new clothes hanging there. The washroom. There was no one there, but there were 2 pairs of Lin Yi's underwear hanging on the drying rack. Yushu was a little puzzled. Where was Yao Yao sis? Where was she? Could she be invisible? Yushu searched the room a few more times, but there was no sign of Meng Yao. She felt a little discouraged. Could it be that Meng Yao really wasn't in the room? Yushu's phone vibrated again just as she was thinking about it. She took it out and picked it up helplessly. "Yao Yao sis, where are you?" "Shoo, it's been 10 minutes. You still haven't found me." Meng Yao's voice sounded a little smug. "Yao Yao sis, where are you hiding?" Yushu looked around the room as she spoke, trying to find the source of the voice, but couldn't find it. Meng Yao probably wasn't talking in the room. "I'm in our bedroom. I laid on the bed for a while, waiting for you to come find me," Meng Yao said lazily. She was obviously trying to piss Yushu off. Ugh. Yushu almost dropped the phone on the floor. "You're in the bedroom?" "But I saw Shield Bro's door was closed." "Oh. I just closed it," Meng Yao said casually. "I was worried that he might have some valuables in his room, and if we broke them while we were playing hide-and-seek, he'd come after us again." Ugh. Yushu didn't think that Meng Yao would close Lin Yi's door for this reason. Wasn't this a little too much? Isn't this clearly making me fall for it? "Yao Yao sis, why are you so sinister? Sneaky. Why don't I think so?" Meng Yao smiled. "Shoo, I'm coming downstairs. It's your turn now. You better hide well, or else you'll be the one confessing." Yushu hung up the phone gloomily and waited in the living room for Meng Yao to come downstairs. After a while, Meng Yao came downstairs. Yushu gritted her teeth when she saw that Meng Yao was indeed upstairs. "Yao Yao sis, it's my turn." "You wait in the bathroom," Yushu said. "Okay, call me when you're done hiding," Meng Yao said nonchalantly. She had already won the first round, and even if she lost the next round, it would be a draw. She wasn't nervous at all. Meng Yao went into the bathroom and closed the door. Yushu went to hide. Yushu wanted to hide in a random place this time, but she couldn't take the risk after losing the last round. She could only hide in the most powerful place. After Yushu saw that Meng Yao had closed the bathroom door, she tiptoed out of the villa and came to the villa's yard. In the backyard of the villa, there was an independent storage room. It was surrounded by a fence, and it was usually locked. Since Meng Yao lived by herself, she didn't have any junk around. She hadn't used this storage room ever since she bought the villa, but a long time ago, Yushu had been playing badminton with Meng Yao in the yard, and the badminton had fallen into the fence of the storage room. Yushu had dug her way through the fence and picked it up. This was a unique hiding place. Yushu believed that Meng Yao wouldn't even think of coming here after she'd hidden herself in. The iron gate was locked, and Meng Yao probably wouldn't even remember where she put the key. Why would she come here to look for Yushu? Chapter 205. Chapter 205, Tragic Shuyushu was trying her best to squeeze her body into the fence. It was taking a lot of effort. Had she gotten fatter? Why wasn't it as easy as before? Oh, she'd probably grown up. The last time she'd gotten in was 4 years ago, when she'd just moved into this villa. Phew! Yushu let out a long sigh of relief after getting halfway in. She should have looked for the key to the fence if she'd known it was this hard. Yushu wiped the sweat off her forehead and got ready to go deeper, but her chest hurt as soon as she tried. The iron bars were stuck between her two bunnies. Yushu wasn't willing to give up as she tried to squeeze her body into the fence again. I can't, it hurts. Yushu's chest was hurting. Wouldn't it hurt to get in there? How unlucky. Yushu realized for the first time that her breasts had become a burden. Mengyao was right about it, it was only a matter of time before her breasts became a burden. What a tragedy. Confessing was fine, she couldn't just get stuck like that, could she? Yushu sighed and gave up on the idea of going deeper, preparing to move the other half of her body out. But the next moment, Yushu realized that it was a tragedy for her. She couldn't move the other half of her body out. Wouldn't she be able to get in if she could move it out? She couldn't be that unlucky, could she? Yushu was starting to panic. This wasn't a joke, she'd be a laughing stock if word got out that she was stuck in the fence. Yushu quickly pulled out her phone and called Mengyao. The call went through, but Mengyao hung up after a few rings. Evidently, Mengyao had misunderstood that Yushu was giving her a signal to start searching. Yushu quickly restarted the call, and Mengyao picked it up after a few rings. Shu, what's up? I was just about to go look for you. You have a lot of phone bills, don't you? Yao, help, I'm stuck. Wah! Yushu was panicking. She was stuck in the fence, unable to get in or out. What was she supposed to do? Ah! Mengyao blinked. Shu, what did you say? What do you mean you're stuck? What's wrong with you? Yao, come to the storeroom in the villa's backyard. I'm stuck. Hurry, I can't hold on any longer. Yushu said urgently. Oh, then wait for me. I'll be right there. Yushu didn't sound like she was making things up. She really did seem to be in trouble. She hung up and ran out of the villa, heading for the storeroom in the backyard. They hadn't even reached the storeroom when they saw Yushu hanging from a metal fence. Shu, what are you doing? Mengyao asked, puzzled. Yao sis, save me. Yushu waved at Mengyao as soon as she saw Mengyao. She was really a little scared. She was stuck inside. What if she couldn't get out? Mengyao took a few steps closer to see what was going on. Yushu had managed to squeeze through the bars on the right, but couldn't get through on the left. The bars were stuck between the two boobs. Pfft. Ha ha ha. Mengyao couldn't hold it in anymore. How could this work? Yao, why are you still laughing? I'm stuck. Yushu was on the verge of tears. Shu, you're so sad. Mengyao couldn't hold back her laughter. See, I told you, your boobs will be a burden sooner or later. If it were me, this wouldn't happen. Yao, I'm sorry, okay? I won't talk about you anymore. Think of something, let me out first. Yushu apologized profusely. Let me think. Mengyao couldn't hold back her laughter. How about I cut off a piece of your boobs? Yao. Yushu was getting a little angry. I'll ignore you if you keep joking. Alright, Shu, I'll stop joking. I'll think about what to do. Mengyao quickly shut her mouth. Thinking about it, Yushu was indeed a tragedy. She shouldn't have made fun of her. Okay. Yushu nodded. She put all her hopes on Mengyao. Maybe I can help you press one side of your boobs, and you can squeeze in as hard as you can. Mengyao couldn't think of any good ideas. Will that work? Won't it hurt? Yushu was a little scared. But there's no other way. Meng Yao really didn't know what else to do. Let's give it a try then. Yushu nodded. And so, the two girls started fiddling with it. People who didn't know better would think that they were playing some high-tech video game. Ah. It hurts, I can't anymore, Yao Yao, I'm going to die. I'm not doing this anymore. Yushu started crying loudly. Shu, you have to hold on a little longer. How else are you going to get out? Can't you just eat and sleep in here? What if you need to go to the toilet? Meng Yao said. You have to hold on. But Yao Yao, I'm really going to be crushed to death by you. Yushu's voice had already changed. Just squeeze a little harder, and you'll be able to get out. Meng Yao encouraged. But I can't use my strength. It hurts. Yushu said, feeling wronged. Then what do we do? Meng Yao didn't have a choice. Maybe I should call Lin Yi and have him pull you from the front while I press from the back. Maybe you can get out after we've made up our minds. That. Yushu shivered just thinking about it. This was hell on earth. But she had no choice but to nod in order to get out. Yao Yao, hurry up and call Shield Bro. Lin Yi was still driving, ignoring Kong Xiaobo, leaving him alone. Boss, I've made up my mind. Kong Xiaobo suddenly raised his head and looked at Lin Yi. Boss, I really have feelings for Fun. I can't deny that I'm a little impulsive, but I really like her. Ever since I saw her picture, I had a good impression of her. Especially after knowing her pitiful background, I don't dislike her at all. Instead, I pity her even more. Boss, can you let me try to get in touch with her? Ah. Lin Yi wasn't too surprised by this result. He'd expected this to happen a long time ago. He only gave Kong Xiaobo some time to calm down and think about the pros and cons. Her psychological problem can be cured, but her leg. Chapter 206. Chapter 206, Why didn't you say so early? Huh, I've never stopped you from dating her, this is your decision, and I'll always support you. Lin Yi said as he patted Kong Xiaobo on the shoulder. But this road might be a bumpy one. If I love her, then I'll walk down this path. I need to be sure of my feelings. Kong Xiaobo said with a fist clenched. Boss, I'll be confident as long as you support me. Ah. Lin Yi was just about to say a few words of encouragement when his phone rang. It was the Mississippi, what's up? Lin Yi asked, not wanting to call Meng Yao's name since Kong Xiaobo was right beside him. Lin Yi, where are you? Come home, quick. Shu's in trouble. Meng Yao said in a panic. Trouble? What happened? Don't worry, I'll be right back. Meng Yao's words weren't very clear on the phone, but Lin Yi still had to get back as soon as possible. He didn't want to waste time with Yushu in trouble. Boss, what's up? Kong Xiaobo couldn't hear Meng Yao's words, but Lin Yi did. Yeah, something happened at home. I'll drop you off at Ningshi Road, I won't be sending you back. Lin Yi said. It's fine, boss. Maybe I can get out now. There's a bus stop up ahead. Kong Xiaobo said, not wanting Lin Yi to send him back. I'll pass by Ningshi Road, it's fine. Lin Yi said as he sped up. The speed limit in Songshan was 60 km per hour, but there were some roads with fewer cars that allowed for speed. It'd be bad if they got caught on speed cameras, though. But Lin Yi didn't care about all that. The car was Yushu's, and he was in a rush to get home because of Yushu as well. Miss Chen wouldn't blame him even if he got a fine. Lin Yi dropped Kong Xiaobo off at Ningshi Road and sped back to the villa. Lin Yi charged into the villa after he parked the car. Yao Yao, Shu. No answer. Lin Yi frowned. Did something really happen? Did Sihua's men come to the villa? But that was impossible. The villa area had 24-hour surveillance cameras, and there were security guards on duty. It was impossible for anyone to cause trouble here. General Weiwu, where's Yao Yao? Lin Yi suddenly saw General Weiwu at the staircase, so he didn't care if it could understand him or not and asked casually. General Weiwu raised its head and looked at Lin Yi before lowering its head again, not saying a word. Fuck, you stupid dog, I'm talking to you. Lin Yi kicked General Weiwu, panicking. Woof. General Weiwu barked and ran out of the villa with Lin Yi towards the backyard. Lin Yi followed behind General Weiwu, confused. He didn't know if it knew where Meng Yao was, or if it was just running around blindly. But when he reached the backyard, Lin Yi saw Meng Yao and Yushu standing there, perfectly fine. What happened? Did these two girls have nothing better to do, so they decided to play with him? You guys. Lin Yi was just about to ask what was going on when he realized something was wrong. Half of Yushu's body was stuck in the fence, and the other half was stuck outside. What kind of position was this? Lin Yi, come quick, Shu's stuck, she can't get out, she can't get in, she can't get out, what should we do? Meng Yao waved at Lin Yi anxiously. Ugh. Lin Yi was a little confused. Shu, why are you in there? I'm playing hide and seek with Yao Yao. I wanted to hide in there, but I ended up like this halfway through. Shield bro, help. Yushu wasn't as worried after seeing Lin Yi, but she still wanted to get out as soon as possible. Hide and seek. Pfft. Ha ha ha. Lin Yi couldn't help but laugh. He scratched his head awkwardly when he saw Yushu's murderous gaze. I'm far from help, I won't die even if I'm stuck in there. I won't die, but I can't be stuck either. Yushu panicked. Yao Yao, tell Shield bro your idea, see if you can get me out. Oh, okay. Meng Yao nodded and turned to Lin Yi. You climb over the fence and pull Shu's hand over there, I'll press down on her, there, see if I can get her over there. Meng Yao was too embarrassed to say boobs or boobs in Lin Yi's presence, so she could only use there. Lin Yi flipped over the fence in no time. I'll hold her now. Yeah, I'll count to 3, and you pull. Meng Yao nodded. Okay. Lin Yi pulled Yushu's hand. Ready. 1, 2, 3. Meng Yao pressed down on Yushu as Lin Yi pulled. Yushu was on the verge of tears. It hurts so much, I can't take it anymore, let go of me, I'm not going out. Meng Yao quickly let go, and Lin Yi didn't dare pull as well. You two are trying to kill me. Woo. Yushu covered her chest with her hands, tears coming out of her eyes. Lin Yi, think of something, what should we do? Meng Yao really didn't know what to do, maybe we should call the police. Don't, Yao Yao, if that woman Lingshan saw me like this, she'd laugh herself to death. Yushu shook her head, dissatisfied. But you can't just be stuck like this. Meng Yao said. I can get her out. Lin Yi interrupted. You can. Meng Yao blinked, why didn't you say so earlier? What are you waiting for? But you didn't let me say anything just now, I was just doing what you told me to do, I thought you had some good idea. Lin Yi said, putting on a bitter face. You. Meng Yao was pissed off. Lin Yi, hurry up and think of something. Lin Yi, naturally, was just playing along with Meng Yao's antics, trying to tease Miss Chen a little, letting her know how powerful he was, so she wouldn't have to hang a toilet paper on the side to blackmail him all the time. Lin Yi smiled faintly as he reached his hand out, almost touching Yushu's chest. Hey! Shield bro, what are you doing? Yushu jumped, startled. Was Lin Yi trying to take advantage of her? Getting you out. Lin Yi didn't bother with her, he reached his hands out and grabbed the 2 bars on Yushu's chest and back, one on the left and one on the right. The one on the back was fine, but the one in front of her chest made contact with Yushu's chest. Chapter 207. Heibao escapes. It wasn't that Lin Yi didn't want to take advantage of her, but he didn't dare. The miss was right there, watching him. Flirting with her best friend? Lin Yi wasn't that reckless. However, this feeling was really not bad. Just touching the wrist was already very impressive. Lin Yi chuckled dryly at Yushu's murderous glare, deciding not to take advantage of her anymore. He exerted some force with his hands, and the bars were pulled apart. Done. Lin Yi said as he let go, standing to the side. Ah. Yushu tried it out, and got through the bars easily. That easy? It's that simple. Lin Yi nodded. That easy? Why did you pull me? Yushu panicked. My chest, it hurts. Ahem. Shoo. Mengyao glared at Yushu. Watch your mouth. Yushu blushed a little, but didn't care. Shield bro, did you do it on purpose? Yao Yao made me do it. Lin Yi said innocently. I thought her method was the best. Lin Yi, stop trying to drive a wedge between us. Mengyao wasn't happy about it. What do you mean my method is the best? I know you can pull the bars open. Ha. Lin Yi smiled. If there's nothing else, I'll put the bars back to normal. Don't go through them next time, but you should be fine if you do it, Yao Yao. With that, Lin Yi restored the 2 bars back to their original state. Lin Yi. What do you mean? Are you saying that my chest is small? Mengyao exploded at Lin Yi's words. I didn't say that. Lin Yi sweated. He'd just said something random, and Mengyao was reacting like that. I'll be going if there's nothing else, come back here. Mengyao was pissed when she saw Lin Yi running away. Yao Yao, there's a benefit to having a small chest, you won't get stuck. Yushu said weakly as she looked at the enraged Mengyao. Shoo. Menyao's face darkened as she glared at her. How could you persuade someone like that? Stuck. There are so many big-breasted girls here, but I don't see any of them getting stuck. Only an idiot like you can get stuck. Yao Yao, don't be angry. Pinliang likes you no matter how big or small your chest is, Yushu said seriously. Shoo, did you do it on purpose? What does that have to do with me? Mengyao was going crazy. You're right, as long as Shield Bro likes it. Yushu nodded. Mengyao was speechless. She couldn't be bothered to get angry with Yushu anymore. Her best friend was going to die sooner or later. Mengyao rolled her eyes as she remembered something. Shu, you lost in hide and seek, didn't you? Ah. Yushu was reminded by Mengyao, and her vision darkened as she remembered the wager. What did it mean to get caught in one's own trap? Yushu hated herself for talking so fast. Why did she have to play with a wager all of a sudden? Yao Yao sis, I'm stuck here. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to find me, Yushu argued. Nonsense, I could find you even if you weren't stuck. Mengyao said. Shu, you can't go back on your words. Otherwise, I won't play with you anymore. Oh. Yushu was a little discouraged by Mengyao's threat. Alright, I'll go, when? Mengyao knew how weird Yushu was. If she didn't tell her the time, she'd probably drag it out. Dinner. Dinner time. Yushu wanted to prepare. Yao Yao, you have to give me time to prepare. Alright, dinner time then. Mengyao nodded. You can't go back on your words. Got it, Yao Yao. Yushu's face was bitter. But what if Shield Bro takes it seriously? That's not good. If he takes it seriously, you'll marry him. You seem to like him. Mengyao curled her lips. She didn't know why, but she didn't feel comfortable. Wah, then if I marry him, you'll marry him too. Yushu acted like she didn't understand. Yao Yao, you're so cunning. You like Shield Bro, but you're using me as the vanguard, Shu. What kind of nonsense are you talking about? Who likes him? Meng Yao covered Yushu's mouth. She wouldn't let Lin Yi hear her, would she? How embarrassing. She didn't know what Shu was thinking. She used to make a joke when she was young, and she always took it seriously. She wasn't an idiot, why would she like to be a mistress? Hee hee. Yushu smiled without saying anything. I won't say anything. Yao Yao, you'll cover my mouth again if I do. Humph, I'm telling you, you're not allowed to tell him in advance. I'll be watching you. Meng Yao was getting pissed. She wasn't giving Yushu any leeway at all. Ah. That was indeed what Yushu was planning to do. She'd secretly contact Shield Bro and tell him to put on a show with her tonight, but she didn't expect Meng Yao to cut her off first. She wouldn't have pissed Meng Yao off if she'd known this was going to happen. She'd be in trouble after pissing Meng Yao off. She'd thought that Yao Yao would forget about it after some bullsh asterisk ting. Yushu's eyes rolled around, but she couldn't think of a good solution. She sighed dejectedly. All right. Yao Yao, I'll confess, that's more like it. Good kids do what they say. Meng Yao nodded before pulling Yushu back to the villa. Lin Yi had returned to the villa a long time ago. He'd called Faubert to get him to fix his car, but the guy was driving Pengzhan to a business event in a neighboring city. He wouldn't be back anytime soon. Lin Yi got a call from Lingshan not long after he hung up. Lin Yi hesitated for a moment before picking it up. What's up? You're not asking me to go arrest someone again, are you? Lin Yi, Heibao escaped. Lingshan's urgent voice came from the other side of the phone. Heibao. Escaped? Lin Yi blinked. Yes, just this afternoon, on the way to the detention center, Heibao suddenly went berserk, injuring 3 police officers and 2 auxiliary officers. One of them's in critical condition, he's still in critical condition in the hospital. Lingshan said. What? He injured 3 police officers and 2 auxiliary officers. 5 people. Are you serious? Lin Yi blinked. This Heibao wasn't that strong, so how could he injure 5 people? Was this a joke? Chapter 208. The Miss Bringing a Man Home. I'm not joking. Lingshan said solemnly. Lin Yi, I know it's hard to believe, I was shocked myself when I first heard the news, but it's the truth. Heibao was the only suspect in the car. Lin Yi frowned. If Heibao was this strong, he wouldn't have beaten him up that day. Only him. Lin Yi, I know what you're trying to say, but I can say for sure that Heibao did this all by himself. Lingshan said. I don't know if you're familiar with the Division of Strength in Jianghu, but old Zhang in the police force is also a retired master of the special forces. He's always in the car when escorting suspects, and this time is no exception. He fought Heibao, and Heibao was a level higher than him. I believe old Zhang's words. Division of Strength in Jianghu. I've heard about it from Jun Bro. Lin Yi found the whole thing a little strange, but Lingshan's insistence meant that there had to be something else going on. Sky, Earth, Xian, and Huang. Golden class masters can dominate the cities. That's right, old Zhang's a golden class early phase. He's not as strong as me, but it's enough against normal people. Lingshan said. According to his judgment, Heibao should be golden class late phase peak, otherwise old Zhang wouldn't have been able to take one hit. Golden class late phase peak. Lin Yi couldn't help but click his tongue. What the hell? How did a weak guy like that become a golden class late phase peak? What kind of joke was this? If he didn't hide his strength from the start, then he must have used some method we don't know of to raise his strength to golden class late phase peak in an instant. Lingshan explained. The latter is more likely. Lin Yi said after some thought. If it's the first, then he wouldn't have to run away after getting caught. He could have killed me when I was beating him up and run away before you guys showed up. Of course, Lin Yi was exaggerating a little. It wasn't that easy for a peak late phase golden class to kill him. Although this division of strength was a relatively common way of dividing, it depended on the martial arts practiced by each person. When people of the same level really fought, there would be a huge difference in strength. That's right, we think so too. Ling Shan said. This news will still get out, but I'm calling to remind you that you're the one who sent Heibao in, and I'm worried that he'll take revenge on you. Where do you live? Shall I send some policemen to guard the area? No need. If he comes looking for me, I will send him back to you, Lin Yi said calmly. Peak late phase golden class. Heh, it's good that you're here, then I won't have to go look for you. Lin Yi, I'm not joking with you. I don't know if you understand how strong a golden class late phase peak is. Ling Shan was a little annoyed at Lin Yi's attitude. She was reminding him out of goodwill, but he didn't seem to care at all. Why was this man so sloppy? How could he become Captain Yang's friend? I know, I'm just a little stronger than you. Don't worry, I'm just a little stronger than you. I'll be fine. Lin Yi said seriously. Ling Shan was a little speechless. Do what you want. I'm reminding you already. Ling Shan hung up the phone, pissed off. What kind of person was this? Treating good intentions like bad intentions. Ah, Heibao. Suddenly increased strength. This is quite interesting. Lin Yi mumbled to himself as he put the phone aside. But, so be it. He could go wherever he wanted, as long as he didn't bother Lin Yi. Yushu tried to sneak away from Meng Yao a couple of times before dinner, but Meng Yao noticed her every time she tried. Yushu, where are you going? Ugh. Yao Yao, I'm going to the washroom. Yushu said weakly. There's one in the room, what are you going to do? Meng Yao pointed at the washroom. Oh. I forgot, I thought it was in school. Yushu said helplessly as she got up. Give me your phone. Meng Yao didn't let her go. Ah. Okay. Yushu handed her phone over, completely giving up on the idea. It seemed like she had to confess tonight, the dinner wasn't delivered by Faubert, but by an assistant from Pengzhan's company. Faubert had called Meng Yao earlier to tell her that he was going to a business event with the Mr. Chu, and that the person delivering the dinner was the company's assistant. Meng Yao didn't mind, however. This kind of thing happened quite often in the past, and she knew the assistant as well. She agreed without a second thought. The villa's doorbell rang at 6, and Lin Yi went to open the door, thinking that it was Faubert delivering the dinner. He didn't expect it to be a man he didn't know. May I ask who you're looking for? Lin Yi didn't open the door for him, asking instead. Eh? The man paused as he looked at the house number. He wasn't at the wrong place, was he? Wasn't this the Miss House? Why was there a man here? Only Pengzhan and Faubert knew that Lin Yi was living here, and no one else in the company knew about it. It was no wonder that the assistant was confused. Excuse me, is this Miss Meng Yao's house? I'm looking for her. The man asked carefully after making sure that he wasn't at the wrong place. Oh, you're looking for Yao Yao. What's up? Lin Yi looked at the man suspiciously, but Lin Yi could guess what he was here for when he saw the lunchbox in the man's hand. Since Faubert was going to a business event with Pengzhan, naturally, he couldn't deliver Meng Yao's dinner at night. It was normal for him to send someone else. You're here to deliver the dinner? Lin Yi asked before the man could say anything. Ah, yeah. The man nodded. He was getting more and more curious about Lin Yi's identity. Who was this man who appeared in the Miss House? Especially when he addressed Miss intimately, calling her Yao Yao. This man couldn't be the Miss boyfriend, could he? She brought him home when Mr. Chu wasn't at home, but he didn't expect to bump into him. The man felt sad at the thought. He thought that this was a good chance for him to show off. Only trustworthy people could do private things for the company's leaders. Others couldn't do it even if they wanted to. But he was so unlucky that he bumped into the Miss Boyfriend. If he found out about the Miss Puppy Love, how could he get over it? If the Miss got angry and said bad things about him in front of Mr. Chu, thinking that his bright future had become so gloomy, the man felt sad for a while. Chapter 209. Chapter 209, Cunning Shu, do you have identification? Lin Yi had a guess as to why the man was here, but he still made sure to check it carefully. This was a critical time, after all, and it wasn't the time to be messing around. What if the man was a fake and had come with a box of poison? Ah. I do. The man wasn't expecting Lin Yi to be this careful. He reached for his employee card. Meng Yao and Yushu heard the doorbell ringing as well. Meng Yao remembered that Faubert wasn't the one delivering the food today, and Lin Yi might not know who it was. She pulled Yushu downstairs. She was afraid that Yushu would use this opportunity to contact Lin Yi, so she dragged Yushu with her wherever she went. Assistant Zhang, you're here. Meng Yao saw Lin Yi asking for Assistant Zhang's identification as soon as she stepped out of the villa. She felt a little touched by the guy's attentiveness. Miss Chu, Mr. Li went to a nearby city. I'm here to deliver the food for him. Assistant Zhang's face was filled with danger as soon as he saw Meng Yao. He was pissed that he'd caught Meng Yao cheating with her boyfriend, but he had to act like he didn't know anything. Yeah, I got it. Faubert called me. Meng Yao said as she looked at Lin Yi. Lin Yi, this is Assistant Zhang. Just take it when he comes to deliver the food. All right. Lin Yi nodded as he took the box from Assistant Zhang's hands. Meng Yao, on the other hand, didn't think too much about it. Lin Yi living here was her dad's arrangement, and she didn't have any dirty thoughts about it. How would she know what Assistant Zhang was thinking? Assistant Zhang handed the box to Lin Yi before leaving in a hurry. He didn't want to stay any longer in an atmosphere like this. Lin Yi shook his head as he watched Assistant Zhang's hurried back. What was the guy leaving in such a hurry for? Lin Yi took the lunchbox and was about to walk into the villa when Yushu rolled her eyes, thinking about how she should interact with Lin Yi in private. Her eyes landed on the beetle in the yard. Shield bro, how's my car? Not bad, right? It's okay. Lin Yi's heart tightened. This girl wouldn't find out that the car was damaged by me, right? Oh. Yushu's mind raced as she looked at Meng Yao, trying to figure out what to say to Lin Yi. Where are my photos? Why is the ornament on the front of my car gone? Shield bro, hurry up and open the door, I'll go take a look. Shu, are you trying to start a conversation? Meng Yao could tell that something was wrong with Yushu. I took that picture when I was 15. I won't look like that anymore. I have to see where it went. Yushu explained. 15 years old. Meng Yao was pissed. Who could grow smaller and smaller? Who could grow back to how they looked when they were young? Wasn't that bullsh*t? What do you mean you won't grow back? Ah, I took the picture and put it in the drawer. It'd be bad if Kong Xiaobo recognized me driving your car. Lin Yi didn't know what was wrong with Yushu today, but the way she spoke was weird. Oh, then show me if it's still there. I don't believe you. Did you lose it or break it? Yushu wasn't going to let it go. Shoo. Meng Yao, naturally, knew what she was thinking. She was just trying to tell Lin Yi what was going on, wasn't she? She frowned. Lin Yi, open the door and show her. Meng Yao wanted Lin Yi to open the car door and let Shu have a look, and she'd stop. Shu wouldn't be able to do anything with him watching from the side. All right. Lin Yi didn't want to open the door at first, but since the miss had spoken, Lin Yi had no choice but to open the door. He hoped that Yushu wouldn't look at the back seat. Oh. It's here. Yushu found her accessory. She wasn't actually looking for it, but she wanted to use the opportunity to hint to Lin Yi about tonight's action. It'd be too awkward if she confessed abruptly. Alright, Shu. Since you found it, let's go back to the villa for dinner. We have important things to do after dinner. Meng Yao emphasized the word important, hinting to Yushu that she shouldn't think about anything else and just wait for the confession. Oh. If I can't hang it in the front, I'll hang it in the back then. No one's looking at the back, right? Yushu, of course, wouldn't leave. Her eyes darted back and forth in the car. Suddenly, her gaze stopped at the roof of the back seat of the Beetle. Ah. Shield bro, how did my car become like this? Lin Yi was troubled as well. This Yushu never cared about her car. She'd left it in the garage for so long, and she didn't even bother to look at it. What was up with her today? She looked left and right, and finally noticed something wrong. Meng Yao thought that Yushu was trying to stall for time again. She pulled on her hand. Shu, don't be so surprised. Let's go eat if there's nothing else. No, no. Yushu waved her hand. Yao Yao, you didn't see it, but look here. And here, it's all broken. Meng Yao frowned, thinking that Yushu was just messing around. Impatiently, she followed Yushu into the car. Lin Yi, what the hell are you doing? How did it turn into this? Ambushed. Lin Yi sweated. Ambushed? Someone got in the back seat and ambushed you. How did he get in? Did you let him in? Meng Yao didn't believe him. This car wasn't like a hatchback, where you could get in through the back door. The Beetle could only get in through the front seat. Shield bro, you have to take responsibility. Yushu didn't care about the car's condition at all, she just wanted to talk to Lin Yi. Yao Yao, you can go back first. I need to talk to Shield bro about how to compensate me. No, we can talk about it after dinner, the food's getting cold. Meng Yao rejected. I like cold food, it's harder for me to get esophageal cancer. Yushu wouldn't let go of such a rare opportunity. Then you talk to him, I'll watch from the side. Meng Yao couldn't let Yushu talk to Lin Yi alone. Oh, okay. Yushu pretended that there was nothing wrong with it. She turned to Lin Yi. Shield bro, you damaged my car. You have to give me an explanation, right? Chapter 210. Reaching an agreement. Of course, that wasn't the main thing. What surprised Lin Yi the most was that Yushu didn't show any anger or heartache after seeing her car wrecked. Instead, her eyes lit up with excitement. It was as if her car being wrecked was something to be happy about. Yushu sounded like she cared about it, but Lin Yi could see something else in her eyes. Yushu wasn't angry about her car being wrecked at all. Could it be that she had some ulterior motive? Lin Yi felt that the two girls were hiding something from him as he watched Meng Yao rush them. What do you mean? You're not going to ask me to marry you, are you? Lin Yi said innocently as he looked at Yushu. Ugh. Yushu paused at Lin Yi's words. She was already worried about the confession, and now that Lin Yi was talking about marrying her, she couldn't help but blush. At that moment, Meng Yao's phone rang. She took it out and saw that it was her dad's number. Meng Yao didn't want to be distracted at a time like this, but she couldn't just ignore the call. Hello, Daddy. Meng Yao picked up. Yao Yao, I'm having a meeting in a nearby city. I asked Zhang to send you guys dinner. Is he here already? Peng Zhan's voice sounded from the other side of the phone. Yeah, he just left. Meng Yao was a little impatient. She wanted to end the call as soon as possible. On the other side, Yushu whispered to Lin Yi while Meng Yao was on the phone. Shield bro, put on a show with me after dinner, and we'll forget about the car. Got it? What? Lin Yi was just about to ask what show she was going to put on when Yushu interrupted him loudly. Shield bro, you broke my car. You have to promise me one thing. I haven't thought about it yet. I'll tell you when I'm done. Yushu said loudly. She was afraid that Lin Yi's questions would attract Menyao's attention. Seeing how secretive Yushu was, Lin Yi understood that she was hiding something from Menyao. Lin Yi could have rejected the offer at all, since he was hired by Pengzhan and Menyao was his first responsibility. But Yushu was using the car as an excuse, and Lin Yi could only nod in agreement. Shu, lower your voice. Menyao frowned as she couldn't hear her dad's voice clearly. Yao Yao, are you talking with Shu? Alright, there's nothing else. I'll be going back tomorrow, see you later. Pengzhan hung up the phone in a hurry after hearing her daughter's words. Oh, okay. Bye daddy. Menyao hung up. His eyes were on Yushu. Shu, what are you trying to do? Nothing. Yushu stuck her tongue out. I want Shield Bro to compensate me, but I haven't thought about what I want yet, so I asked him to promise me something. Shield Bro, you haven't said anything yet. Alright. Lin Yi knew that she was putting on an act, so he agreed. Then it's a deal. Yushu nodded with a smile before turning to Menyao. Yao Yao, Shield Bro, and I've come to an agreement on the car. Let's have dinner. Wow, there's braised anchovies, my favorite, la la la. Yushu nodded with a grin before turning to Menyao. With that, Yushu snatched the lunchbox from Lin Yi's hands and ran into the villa. Menyao looked at Yushu, puzzled. What was wrong with her? Why was she acting so crazy? Did she tell Lin Yi already? It didn't seem like it. She kept staring at her, and Yushu didn't have time to say anything. She looked at Lin Yi. What's wrong with Shu? How would I know? Lin Yi shrugged. If I hadn't seen her chest in the afternoon, I would have thought it was her head. Don't talk nonsense. Menyao rolled her eyes at Lin Yi. Don't talk nonsense about Shu. Lin Yi smiled faintly. You've been blinded by Shu, and you're still speaking up for her. The two walked into the villa, and Yushu had already placed the dishes on the dining table. She had 3 sets of utensils, and each of them had a bowl of rice. Yushu was in a great mood now that her worries were gone. She was almost humming a tune. Of course, she couldn't let Menyao see that, or she'd be done for. Menyao was a little confused at how diligent Yushu was, but she didn't say anything. She sat down at her usual seat, and saw that Lin Yi was still standing there. She pointed at the other side of the table. You eat too, you can eat with us next time, so we don't have to leave room for you, ah. Okay. Lin Yi's status in the family had risen noticeably. From the leftovers they could only eat at the beginning to saving some for themselves, and now they were eating together. It seemed that Menyao was slowly accepting the fact that she was a part of the family as well. Yushu, on the other hand, didn't seem to mind. The girl didn't have a temper, nor did she have a temper, and was easy to get along with. It was just that the things she did made people's hair stand on end. Yao Yao, today's braised fish is really good. Do you want to try it? Yushu said as she put a piece of the fish into Menyao's mouth. It was delicious. Shu, do you have ADHD today? I don't see you like this usually. Menyao couldn't take it anymore. Yao Yao, I'm just. Yeah. I'm about to take an important step in my life, so I'm excited. You know. Yushu said. Menyao didn't know what to say. An important step. Did you really think that confession was real? An important step. Menyao wasn't happy at the thought. You're just joking, why are you being so serious? Lin Yi ate the food on the table quietly. Lin Yi didn't like to talk much during mealtimes, especially when it was a topic he couldn't join in on. Lin Yi didn't want to say anything either. Be it Menyao or Yushu, both of them were acting weird today. He didn't know what Yushu was talking about when she said he'd play along with her. It was a little weird. Meng Yao thought about how Yushu would embarrass herself later, and the shocked expression on Lin Yi's face after the confession. That bit of unhappiness in Meng Yao's heart vanished. It was time for Yushu to embarrass herself. The girl had been messing with her all these years, and she didn't even have the chance to do it. She was the sister, after all. For example, if Yushu wanted to eat grilled squid, she'd tell Pinliang that it was Meng Yao who wanted to eat it, and Pinliang would skip class and run a few miles to buy some grilled squid skewers, and Yushu would eat them happily, and if she wanted to hear firecrackers during New Year, she'd tell Pinliang that she wanted to hear it. Pinliang fell for it again. Chapter 211. Shu's confession. In actuality, Meng Yao had accused Pinliang wrongly. Pinliang had fallen for Yushu's tricks a couple of times, and he'd guessed that Yushu was just messing with him. But it was better to be safe than sorry. What if it was really Meng Yao's request? What if that happened once? Wouldn't Pinliang cry tears of sorrow? And so, even if he knew that Yushu was lying to him, he had no choice but to do as she said. He was afraid that it really was Meng Yao's idea, and he'd regret it if he didn't do it. And so, Meng Yao was looking forward to Yushu's failure. She finished her dinner quickly, and Yushu was still chewing on the fish slowly, pulling out the bones one by one. She started to panic. "Shu, why were you eating so slowly? Eating slowly is good for the body, after all. I don't have anything else to do anyway, so what's wrong with eating slowly?" Yushu mumbled as she ate. "Yao Yao, what's up?" Meng Yao gritted her teeth. She wasn't the one who had anything to do, but she was the one who had something to do. "Keep acting, then. Let's see how long you can drag this out." Meng Yao watched as Yushu ate slowly, patting her tummy after a long while. "I'm full." Yao Yao, you and Shield Bro are both done. You two are so in sync." "Is that so?" Meng Yao humphed lightly. "Shu, didn't you tell me that you had something important to say to Lin Yi? Didn't you say that you were about to take an important step in your life? Alright, can you tell me now? I want to hear what you have to say." Lin Yi was about to go back to his room after dinner when Meng Yao's words reminded him of what Yushu had said to him. He looked at Yushu, confused. What did she want to say to him? Was she going to play along with her? "Yeah. Then I'll say it." Yushu looked at Meng Yao, then back at Lin Yi. She was a little embarrassed now. "Hurry up," Meng Yao urged. "Shield Bro, I like you. Actually, I've had a crush on you for a long time now." Yushu stood up all of a sudden and put her palms together in front of her chest as she looked at Lin Yi, her heart pounding a little as she recalled the scene of a girl confessing her love under the tree when she cleared the game. Ugh. Lin Yi blinked as he remembered Yushu's reminder. Wasn't this what they called acting? At the thought, Lin Yi stood up excitedly and grabbed Yushu's hand. "Lil sis Shu, I like you too. Actually, when I first came to this villa, I started to like you. It was just that he had never dared to confess. Actually, I really like you and Yao Yao." Ahem. Meng Yao coughed twice as she listened to Lin Yi's words getting more and more unreliable, dragging her into the mess as well. She was getting more and more uncomfortable. What the hell was Lin Yi talking about? Accepted Yushu's confession. This guy can't be that shallow, right? Why did he accept Yushu's confession just like that? He looked really excited, as if he'd been waiting for a long time. She didn't know why, but Meng Yao was a little confused as she forced a smile. "Shu, I didn't know you liked him." Yushu was a little dumbfounded. She didn't think that Lin Yi would have such a strong reaction, even grabbing her hand and confessing to her. Yushu's heart was in a mess. Her heart was beating really fast. Shield bro liked her. It couldn't be, right? She'd always thought that he liked Yao Yao sis. But she'd just told him to put on an act with her, so he should be acting now, right? Yushu let out a sigh of relief at the thought, but at the same time, she felt a little disappointed. Would Shield bro accept her if she really did confess? Yushu blushed a little. The sudden cough from Meng Yao snapped Yushu back to reality as she looked at Meng Yao, a little embarrassed. Yao Yao sis. I'm done with my confession, so don't bring it up again. Lin Yi, aren't you going to say something about it? Meng Yao was a little curious. Lin Yi was so excited earlier, why did he seem to be back to normal in the blink of an eye? Say what? Lin Yi sat there, looking at Meng Yao. I said it, she confessed, and I accepted. That's it? Aren't you excited? Meng Yao was a little surprised. What's there to be excited about? Who knows if she's telling the truth or not? Lin Yi shrugged. She's always been this crazy. Ugh. Meng Yao opened her mouth, but didn't say anything. Did Lin Yi know that Yushu's confession was just a farce? Meng Yao was a little disappointed, but at the same time, she was happy. So Lin Yi wasn't accepting Shu's confession. Meng Yao felt that her emotions were a mess right now, and she couldn't stay here any longer. She needed to go back to her room to calm down. Shu, let's go. Meng Yao pulled Yushu up and walked to the second floor, leaving Lin Yi alone in the dining room. Yushu turned around and made a face at Lin Yi, as if the confession hadn't happened at all. Lin Yi smiled. What the hell were these two girls doing? He put away the leftover fish and some side dishes, preparing to make a meal of potatoes with the fish the next morning. After that, Lin Yi went back to his room. Lin Yi was prepared for Yushu's confession, so he didn't think too much about it. Meng Yao, on the other hand, started to worry as she went upstairs. What if it wasn't Shu who got stuck today, and she lost instead? Would he confess his love to her? Would Lin Yi take it seriously if it were her? She wasn't like Shu, who didn't trust her words and actions. Maybe Lin Yi would believe her then. At that thought, Meng Yao suddenly felt a little annoyed at herself for acting so smart today. She should have just hid in Lin Yi's room and let Shu find her, but why was she confessing to Lin Yi? She didn't even like him. Meng Yao suddenly thought of this and shook her head to get rid of the messy thoughts she'd been having. Yao Yao, what are you doing? Yushu followed Meng Yao up to the second floor, confused by Meng Yao's reaction. Shu, why doesn't he believe your confession? Meng Yao didn't know what she was talking about, her emotions were all over the place. Oh, maybe it's because people don't always believe my words. Yushu rubbed her head. Do I always do stupid things? Maybe. Meng Yao nodded. Alright, Shu, I'm sorry, I went overboard today. I shouldn't have forced you to confess to Lin Yi. It's not good for your reputation. Thank goodness Lin Yi didn't believe it. How else would you get a boyfriend? Chapter 212. The ghost knocks on the window. Ugh. Meng Yao's words made Yushu a little embarrassed. Yao Yao, don't say that. I'm the one who suggested this bet, I can't just let it go, right? Plus. I actually told Shield Bro while you were on the phone. I asked him to act with me later. Wah. Meng Yao blinked. She hadn't expected Yushu to greet Lin Yi in the few seconds it took for her to pick up the phone. This guy. Could it be that the previous scene was just an act by the two of them? Meng Yao glared at Yushu. Shu. Oh. I admit my wrongdo, don't be mad, Yao Yao. Yushu jumped as she ran back to her room. Meng Yao didn't know whether to laugh or cry, but she didn't say anything else. Wasn't this a perfect ending already? She'd really gone a little overboard today. That night, Pin Liang was sitting in his room on the second floor of his villa, watching a horror movie on his computer with all his attention. Pin Liang was actually a very cowardly kid, wetting his bed when he was 8, not daring to sleep alone when he was 10, and not daring to go out alone when he was 12. It didn't fit with the domineering image he had at school, and so Pin Liang came up with a masterstroke. He'd hide in his room and watch horror movies in the dead of the night. He'd been scared shitless at first, but he'd slowly built up some courage now. At the very least, he was brave enough to sleep alone and go out at night. But Pin Liang was still a little scared when he watched horror movies. He didn't dare turn off the lights, always keeping the lights on. The movie he was watching today was about a kid who lived alone in a villa, and every night, he would hear someone knocking on the window. Why was it so scary? Pin Liang shivered. His parents weren't home tonight, so it wouldn't be possible that something was knocking on his window, would it? Just as Pin Liang was concentrating on the movie, a black shadow leaped onto his window sill. Dang dang dang. Dang dang dang. A few knocks sounded on the window. Aw. Pin Liang cried out as he fell on his butt. Who? Who? Who are you? Dang dang dang. Dang dang dang. A few more knocking sounds could be heard. Pin Liang was a little scared, but he forced himself to look at the window. Was he really that unlucky? Did watching a movie attract something that shouldn't have come? Pin Liang let out a sigh of relief when he saw the person's face. He was puzzled at the same time. Why was he here? Pin Liang couldn't care less about his smelly pants as he ran to the window and opened it. Hey Bao bro, why are you here? It was Hey Bao bro, who'd escaped from the police car earlier today. He'd snuck into Pin Liang's room under the cover of the night, hoping to get some money for his escape and discuss revenge. Master Zhong, I beat up a couple of cops on the way to the detention center today. I ran out of the police car. Hey Bao jumped into the room, his agility shocking Pin Liang. Hey Bao bro. How did you get up here? Pin Liang knew the structure of his villa very well. It was covered in mosaics, and there wasn't a single gap for his feet to land on. Climbing up was impossible, and jumping up was even more impossible. It was almost 10 meters tall. Was that a joke? I jumped up. Hey Bao said faintly. I'm no longer the old Hey Bao, Master Zhong. I'm a golden class late phase peak now. Golden class late phase peak. What kind of strength is that? Pin Liang wasn't very clear on the division of strength in Jianghu. Just a little stronger than normal special forces. Hey Bao said. That Song girl from the criminal police is only golden class mid-phase. Oh. Pin Liang didn't understand. Hey Bao bro, how did you get so strong all of a sudden? Hey Bao bro had seemed really weak when he'd been beaten up by Lin Yi, but now, as he said, even Ling Shan wasn't a match for Hey Bao bro, and judging from his agility, he didn't seem to be lying. Now that he thought about it, his strength must have increased all of a sudden. If only he'd been this strong when he was fighting Lin Yi. Pin Liang thought regretfully. Humph, in my early years, I once entered a mysterious Jianghu sect. Inside the sect, there was a very powerful martial arts secret manual, one of which relied on consuming one's lifespan to increase one's strength to the extreme. Black Leopard did not hide anything, but because I violated the sect rules, I was expelled from the sect. Before I left, I made a copy of the chapter on how to quickly increase one's strength. Pin Liang didn't understand, but nodded anyway. He wasn't an idiot. So this method of increasing strength or whatnot has a flaw, right? Yes, not only is there a flaw, but it's a big one. First, you'll have to sacrifice 5 years of your lifespan. Second, this speed increase only lasts about a month, after which you'll become a normal person, and your main meridians will be damaged. You won't be able to practice martial arts for the rest of your life. Hey Bao said. But compared to the punishment I'll have to face, this sacrifice is worth it. Heibao had run away because he knew that he'd committed a serious crime this time. Illegal possession of a gun, causing trouble, intentional injury, plus the fact that he didn't commit any crimes in the past and had some previous records in the police station. Now that everything had been dug up, he'd probably have to face at least 10 years in prison. Heibao couldn't wait any longer, and so he'd taken the risk. 10 years in prison. For someone like Heibao who loved to enjoy life, he'd rather die. He'd escaped to do two things. One was to find Lin Yi for revenge. Not only had the guy sent him to the police station, but half of his face hadn't even recovered yet, and the wound on his hand from the gun was still throbbing. This was the greatest humiliation Heibao had ever suffered since he'd started his career. The second was to borrow some money from Pinliang after dealing with Lin Yi, and then run away from this city, living the rest of his life in style. Chapter 213. Heibao's Revenge. Don't worry, Master Zhong. Every debt has its debtor. This has nothing to do with you. It's all that Lin Yi kid's fault. I'm here to make him disappear from the face of the earth, to vent my anger. Heibao saw through Pinliang's worry and explained bitterly. But I'm penniless right now, so I'll need Master Zhong's full support for my finances. Pinliang let out a sigh of relief at the words. As long as Heibao bro wasn't here to cause trouble, everything was fine. It was just money, wasn't it? Pinliang had money, and Heibao bro was taking the fall for him, even helping him deal with Lin Yi. Pinliang was over the moon. Don't worry, Heibao bro, money's not a problem. I'll talk to my dad and give you $1 million first. Pinliang said. But we'll have to think about how to deal with Lin Yi. We can't do it in school, we'll have to find a different place. Thank you, Master Zhong. Pinliang's generosity put Heibao at ease, giving him $1 million on his first try. It seemed like his trip here hadn't been in vain. House Zhong had treated him well, and it was worth it to take the fall for him. As for dealing with Lin Yi, he wasn't stupid enough to do it in public. He nodded. That's right, we'll have to think about it carefully, but not for too long. My strength will return to normal, and I won't be able to beat that kid. Don't worry, Heibao bro, it'll only be a few days. Pinliang, on the other hand, wanted to kill Lin Yi as soon as possible. The more he looked at the guy, the angrier he got. How dare he kick him in the face in class, humiliating him. Pinliang wouldn't be able to rest until he got his revenge. All right. I'll be leaving then. This is my number. With that, Heibao handed Pinliang a piece of paper with his number on it. News of my escape will be released soon, and the police will definitely notice you then. I'm not afraid of anything, they can't catch me with my current strength, but don't drag you guys into it. Alright, Heibao bro. I'll tell my dad to give you a call once I've gathered $1 million. Pinliang said, a little touched. This Heibao bro was a good person, not afraid of getting him involved. There's no need to rush. Let's get rid of Lin Yi first. Black Panther was obviously so angry with Lin Yi that he gnashed his teeth. If that kid doesn't die, I won't be at ease for the rest of my life. Alright, Heibao bro, you go first. I'll talk to my dad and think of a way to deal with Lin Yi. I'll call you later. Pinliang nodded. Heibao nodded and didn't say anything else. He patted Pinliang's shoulder and jumped up the window, disappearing into the darkness. Fuck, it can't be. Why does he look like a legendary martial arts master? Pinliang looked at the empty window and couldn't help but click his tongue. He walked to the window and looked down. Heibao bro was long gone. He must have left. If it weren't for the fact that he could see the scene clearly, and the contact number Heibao bro gave him, Pinliang would have thought that he was dreaming. After Heibao bro left, Pinliang quickly took out his phone and dialed his father's number. After a while, the call finally connected. Sounds of noises came from the other end. Obviously, Zhong Fabai had a dinner party outside and was drinking. Pin Liang, what's up? Dad, it's urgent. Can you come back for a bit? Pin Liang subconsciously lowered his voice even though he knew that no one was eavesdropping. What's up? I'm out with a client, and your mom's there too. We're old friends, it's not good for you to leave. Fabai said. It's really urgent. Dad, come back quickly. Pin Liang didn't want his father to be overheard, so he didn't want to believe it too much. Pin Liang, what's going on? Why are you so inconsiderate? Dad's really busy here. Fabai was a little displeased. What could possibly happen at this time of the night? Heibao Bro broke out of prison. Pin Liang lowered his voice again. What? What did you say? Fabai paused. Wait for me, I'll be back soon. Fabai's heart tightened when he heard that Heibao Bro had escaped. He couldn't be bothered with his client anymore. This was a big deal, and he might even drag his son into it. It wasn't easy for him to find a lawyer to meet with Heibao and ask him to take responsibility for everything. He'd reward Heibao heavily when he was released, but now that Heibao had escaped, things became complicated. He didn't want anything to go wrong. Zhong Fabai looked at his wife and said, Xiaohua, stay here and accompany your old friend. Something happened to Pin Liang, I have to hurry back. Alright, hurry up and go. Fabai's wife, naturally, knew that something big must have happened if her husband left at this time. She didn't ask and only comforted him. Leave it to me, old friend. Everyone knows I can drink. Let's continue. Although the guests at the table were somewhat dissatisfied with Zhong Fabai's sudden departure, they could only nod in agreement when they heard Fabai's wife's words. Everyone was very familiar with each other, so it wasn't appropriate for them to say too much. Fabai came down from the bar and left the car to his wife. He flagged down a taxi and went back home. He didn't even bother to take off his coat. He shouted as soon as he entered the door. Pin Liang, where are you? I'm back. Pin Liang heard his father's voice and quickly ran out of the room. Dad, I'm here. What happened? How did Heibao escape? Tell me, how did you find out about this? The news didn't spread? Fabai asked, confused. After all, Heibao escaping was a big deal. The news should be out, but there was no news yet. How did Pin Liang know? However, before Pin Liang could say anything, Fabai's phone rang. Zhong Fabai looked at the caller ID and immediately gestured to his son to keep quiet. He picked up the phone, Captain Song, it's so late. Why are you calling me? Chairman Zhong. I have bad news for you. Heibao escaped. Ling Shan didn't want to make this call, but she had to. After Heibao escaped, one of his targets was Lin Yi, and the other was Fabai. Chapter 214. Late night. Fabai had adopted a nonchalant attitude ever since Heibao entered the police station. He'd only hired a lawyer and ignored Heibao after that. Logically speaking, with Fabai's connections in the city, he should have been able to find a few people he could talk to, but there wasn't any. Ling Shan thought that Fabai was afraid of getting her and his son into trouble, so he gave up on Heibao. Naturally, she didn't know that Fabai had already reached an agreement with Heibao through a lawyer, so Heibao wouldn't go after House Zhong. Oh. Is that so? Fabai said faintly. Captain Song, I'm not that close with Heibao. He's just the captain of the security team I hired. Now that he's been arrested, I hired a lawyer for him out of humanitarianism, so he has nothing to do with our company anymore. Ling Shan was a little annoyed at the words. The guy was trying to push the blame away, but would Heibao think the same way? Will he retaliate against you? Mr. Zhong, I have to remind you that Heibao might come after you for revenge. Ling Shan said faintly, holding back her anger. Revenge? Why would he do that? I give him a salary every month, and a bonus. Fabai smiled. Captain Song, you're worrying too much, aren't you? But thanks for the reminder, I'll be careful. You know why, of course. I don't need to explain. Ling Shan smiled coldly. It's best if you hire a bodyguard to protect your son 24/7. Contact me if you need help from the police. Ling Shan didn't like Fabai, but she still had to remind him to be careful as a police officer. Oh, I will, don't worry. Fabai said. I'll contact you guys as soon as I get news of Heibao. Fabai's face turned serious as he hung up. Qin Liang, how did you know Heibao escaped? The police had just called him, and his son already knew about Heibao's escape. His son's information network, Dad, I saw Heibao bro. He was here just now. Qin Liang said. He's here. What's he doing here? Did he threaten you? Fabai's face was even scarier than before. He was just dealing with Ling Shan, trying to clear his name, but he still remembered Ling Shan's words. Heibao really might take revenge on his son. Dad, don't worry. Brother Heibao isn't that kind of person. Qin Liang said. He won't do anything to us. He's after Lin Yi, not me. Oh. How did you know? Did he tell you that? Zhong Fabai paused. Qin Liang, tell me, what's going on? Dad, it's like this. Qin Liang explained. I was watching a movie in my room when a black shadow jumped onto the windowsill, giving me a fright. Jump onto the windowsill? Are you kidding me? Your room is on the second floor, and it's almost 10 meters high. Fabai paused, looking at his son in disbelief. Dad, I'm not too sure, but he said that he joined a sect a long time ago, and that sect has a martial art that can quickly increase a person's strength. At the cost of 5 years of lifespan, he can increase his strength to Golden Class Late Phase Peak in a month. Qin Liang said. What? Golden Class Late Phase Peak. Qin Liang didn't know what this meant, but Fabai knew. He'd been in the world of martial arts for a long time, and naturally, he knew what this meant. Not to mention the late phase of the Golden Class, among his friends, there was only one master who had just reached the early phase of the Golden Class, and this person was only on the same level as him. He didn't work for him, and he could only look for him when he was in trouble. This person could already be said to be invincible in the city. Then what kind of existence would a peak late phase Golden Class be? Heibao had reached this level. It was only a month, but it wasn't easy at all. Yes, that's what he said. Qin Liang nodded. Dad, is this Golden Class Late Phase Peak strong? Very strong. Unimaginably strong. What else did he say to you? Fabai sucked in a breath of cold air. If he hadn't reached an agreement with Heibao through his lawyer, Qin Liang and himself would have been the first targets of Heibao's revenge. He said that he's looking for Lin Yi for revenge, and after that, he needs money to escape. I've already agreed to it. Qin Liang said. Dad, I said that I can give him 1 million for the first transaction. You won't blame me for acting on my own, right? You did well. Fabai said. 1 million is nothing to us, just give it to him. If he wants to escape, give him 2 million too. As for him looking for Lin Yi for revenge, you don't have to get involved. Dad, I hate that Lin Yi too. You don't know how arrogant that kid is. I was in class, talking to Meng Yao at noon, but Lin Yi thought that I was blocking his way, so he kicked me and sent me sprawling on the ground. I'm still hurting from the fall. Qin Liang added fuel to the fire. This kid is an obstacle to my pursuit of Meng Yao, and I have to get rid of him. Oh. If that's the case, then don't get involved in the open. Just give Heibao some pointers in the dark. Fabai nodded. Qin Liang, you're all grown up now. From what you just did, I won't say much. Just do what you think is right. Thanks, Dad. Pin Liang nodded. Right, Dad, I've already given Naipeo the 700,000, yes, this person will be yours in the future. 700,000 for a loyal follower is worth it. Fabai said without hesitation. That night, Pin Liang started thinking about how to deal with Lin Yi. He'd wanted to get rid of Lin Yi at first, wishing that Lin Yi would get run over by a car in the morning. But now, after seeing Heibao Bro's amazing martial arts, and hearing his father's praise of a golden-class late-phase peak master, his heart started beating faster. The thought of killing Lin Yi became even crazier. He couldn't let Lin Yi die just like that. He had to make him suffer before he died. Otherwise, the hatred in his heart would never be appeased. This guy had humiliated him, and his reputation in the school had plummeted. The third brother of the Big Four used to be so powerful, but now he was being laughed at behind his back. Chapter 215. Chance meeting at the hospital. Pinliang had grown up in a family like this, with a father who was half black and half white. He was a coward, but that didn't mean he wasn't a coward. He wanted Lin Yi to die, but he didn't feel guilty at all. Not only that, but he wanted Lin Yi to die even more cruelly. That was the difference between a child born in a family like this and a normal one. What could he do to make Lin Yi suffer more? Pin Liang wasn't interested in physical torture anymore, and beating up Lin Yi was pointless. The mental torture was far more painful than the physical torture. Pin Liang, who'd been watching horror movies to build up his courage, knew this very well. So, if he wanted to torture Lin Yi, he'd have to start with his soul and spirit. Right. Pin Liang remembered that Zhou Ruoming had talked to him about Tang Yin. If Tang Yin was harmed by Zhou Ruoming, and Lin Yi watched her before he died, he wouldn't be able to rest in peace. Pin Liang couldn't help but laugh out loud at the thought. He really was a genius, coming up with such a despicable plan. Lin Yi would probably feel great if he saw his beloved woman get harmed by Zhou Ruoming, and then get beaten to death by Heibao Bro without being able to do anything about it. He'd probably turn into a vengeful spirit from a horror movie. Pin Liang decided that he'd go talk to Zhou Ruoming on Monday morning. Of course, he couldn't tell him that he was the one who killed Lin Yi. He could only say that he could help. On Sunday morning, Lin Yi was woken up by Kong Xiaobo's call. "Boss, I want to go to the hospital to see Fun. Do you want to come?" Kong Xiaobo hadn't slept well the night before. He was suffering from insomnia again. The reason why he couldn't sleep was because he could go to Tang Yun's house to eat barbecue. It was enough for him to brag about. But now, Kong Xiaobo had forgotten about this capital to brag about. All his attention was placed on Xiaofun. Last night, it was the first time Kong Xiaobo couldn't sleep because of a girl. He sympathized with Xiaofun, but he also hated his second cousin, Kong Mingming. A good girl had become like this because of him, but he didn't care and didn't even appear again. Xiaofun's family was already very poor, and Xiaofun's illness was even worse. This made Kong Xiaobo very angry. He wanted to call his second cousin several times to question him, but he held back. After all, he only listened to Tang Yun's side of the story. Although he was leaning towards Tang Yun, he still needed to ask Xiaofun to know the details. Moreover, when two people were in a relationship, it was hard to say who was right or wrong if one of them had a change of heart. It was just that if Kong Mingming was so heartless, he wouldn't be human. "Do you want me to drive you there, or do you want me to go with you?" Lin Yi took the phone and got up from the bed. "Both." Kong Xiaobo laughed. "Boss, first, I want to get a ride with you. Second, if you don't go with me, it would be a bit abrupt for me to go alone. With your relationship with Tang Yun, it's normal for you to visit her friend. What relationship do I have with Tang Yun? Lin Yi smiled bitterly, we don't have a relationship yet. It doesn't matter if you have a relationship or not. You and her are much closer than me and Xiaofun. If you don't go, it won't be good for me to go. Kong Xiaobo said, Boss, please take care of your younger brother's love. Since I have decided, I will go forward bravely. I won't back down. Okay, then wait for me at the place yesterday. I will pack up and go there in about an hour, Lin Yi said. Xiaobo was Lin Yi's only brother in school, naturally, he'd support him. Xiaobo was a good guy, and he was loyal as well. Lin Yi would help Xiaobo if he could in something harmless like this. Lin Yi put down the phone and put on his clothes. He looked at the time. It was only 7-something. This Kong Xiaobo was really early. Ever since Lin Yi was able to communicate with Jiao Lao in his sleep, he was very happy. This old man knew a lot of things. It seemed like he was omnipotent. He went to the kitchen first and used the leftover anchovies from yesterday. Lin Yi cut a few potatoes and put them into the electric pressure cooker together. There was an advantage to stewing potatoes in the electric pressure cooker. It was a short stew time. Menyao's kitchen had all kinds of cooking utensils. It was just that most of them were unused. Although the pot was placed in a box on the cabinet, there was still an instruction manual inside. The electric pressure cooker had a timer function, so Lin Yi didn't need to set anything manually. He left a note for Meng Yao and Yushu, telling them to eat when they woke up. He had something to do. After that, Lin Yi left the villa. The matter of Yushu's car being smashed up was already over, and Lin Yi didn't bother calling Li Fu to fix it. He'd leave it at that for now, since it wouldn't affect his usage. Kong Xiaobo was already waiting at the Ningshi Road bus stop. Lin Yi picked him up and headed to Songshan's First People's Hospital. He didn't see Fen's family in the emergency room. Fen's bed had been replaced by an old auntie. Kong Xiaobo asked around and found out that Fen's family had been transferred to the inpatient department. Guan Xian, the nurse who'd helped him change his bandages earlier, came in with the medicine. She was slightly taken aback when she saw Lin Yi. Lin Yi? Why are you here? Guan Xian's voice was a little surprised. Guan Xian had been worried about Lin Yi's injury for the past few days. Lin Yi hadn't come back since Lin Yi changed his bandages, and Guan Xian was worried that something had gone wrong. In fact, Guan Xian was looking forward to seeing Lin Yi more often. She had an indescribable fondness for the man who saved her life. It wasn't exactly fond, Guan Xian wasn't that infatuated with him, but it was a good feeling. She'd think about him when she couldn't see him. She'd thought that she'd never see Lin Yi again, but here she was again in the hospital. Guan Xian was both surprised and happy. Guan Xian. I have a friend in the hospital, so I came to see her. Lin Yi wasn't expecting to see Guan Xian here. Oh. Guan Xian nodded. The injury on your leg, it's healed a long time ago. Lin Yi smiled. Thank you. Guan Xian wanted to say something else, but one of the doctors in the room called her over to change the bandages. Guan Xian had no choice but to apologize to Lin Yi and leave reluctantly. She wanted to ask for Lin Yi's number, but couldn't bring herself to do so. She was a girl after all, and it wasn't right for her to ask for a man's number. Chapter 216. Understanding. In the ward area, Lin Yi and Kong Xiaobo found Fen's room. It was an 8-person room, even more crowded than a 4-person room in the emergency room. Adding in the family members, the room was very crowded, and the air was very turbid. Kong Xiaobo frowned. This kind of environment wasn't good for Fen's illness at all. She needed to rest, and this noisy room wasn't good at all. But thinking about Fen's family, Kong Xiaobo could only sigh. His family wasn't that well off either, or he could have used the money to transfer Fun to a better room. Lin Yi, naturally, noticed the expression on Kong Xiaobo's face. He smiled and patted his shoulder. The deposit I paid should be enough for her to transfer to a better room. As for Qintian's money, Lin Yi didn't mind it at all. What's more, he wasn't spending it on someone else, but on his future sister-in-law. Naturally, Lin Yi wouldn't feel bad about it. But, boss, this money. Kong Xiaobo hesitated. After all, Lin Yi was loaning the money to Fun's family. Lin Yi wasn't himself, and he wouldn't get anything in return if he spent it on Fun. Ha, just treat it as spending it on you. You don't have to pay it back, Lin Yi smiled. Thanks. Kong Xiaobo nodded. He knew that Lin Yi wasn't joking. And so, Kong Xiaobo didn't hesitate. He wouldn't regret following a boss like this for the rest of his life. Kong Xiaobo quickly walked to Fun's bed. Fun had already woken up, and her face had regained some color. Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen were there, talking to her. Hui Ping, on the other hand, was peeling an apple for Fun. Auntie Song. Kong Xiaobo was a little embarrassed. After all, he wasn't familiar with her. He saved Fun yesterday and came to the hospital with her, but it didn't seem like a good thing if he came today. Oh. Xiaobo is here. Hui Ping evidently had a good impression of Kong Xiaobo. She stood up with a smile and handed the apple to Kong Xiaobo. Here, have an apple. No, Auntie, give it to Fun. I can eat anywhere, she needs nutrition, Kong Xiaobo quickly declined. Fun blushed when she saw Kong Xiaobo. When she woke up today, Tang Yun and Lu Xinwen told her about Kong Xiaobo. She also knew about what happened yesterday. Kong Xiaobo saved her, but she mistook Kong Xiaobo for Kong Mingming. Thank you for yesterday, Kong Xiaobo. Fun sat up a little embarrassedly and greeted Xiaobo with a blushing face. Her voice was very melodious. Ah. You're welcome, hee. It was Kong Xiaobo's first time seeing a normal Fun. He was so excited that he danced when he heard her talking to him. Also. Yesterday in the hospital, I'm sorry, I mistook you for him. Although Fun didn't want to talk about it, she still had to apologize to Kong Xiaobo. In reality, Fun knew that Kong Xiaoming would never change his mind. It was just that sometimes, she just had to live in an illusion. It's fine. Ha, Kong Xiaobo waved his hand, it's fine as long as you're fine. Oh right, I've talked to the boss to transfer you to a better ward. Ah. Fun was surprised. She heard from Tang Yun that Kong Xiaobo seemed to be interested in her, but Fun didn't think much about it. After all, she was a disabled person and had schizophrenia. How could a young man like Kong Xiaobo like her? But after hearing what Kong Xiaobo said, she couldn't help but believe Tang Yun's words. If Kong Xiaobo didn't have any feelings for her, why would he come to the hospital the next day and transfer her to a ward? Hui Ping also saw through Kong Xiaobo's thoughts. She was also confused. If her daughter wasn't in this accident, she would be a flower in the slums. Although she wasn't as pretty as Tang Yun, she was still outstanding. But now, what did Kong Xiaobo like about her daughter? Hui Ping was a little confused. Her family didn't have anything to covet, but her daughter was in this situation. Ha, this is my boss's idea. It's fine, my boss's family is rich. He doesn't lack this little bit. Kong Xiaobo played dumb and pushed this matter to Lin Yi. Lin Yi was speechless. His family was rich. The two girls in his family were quite rich, but he, Fun, you and Tang Yun are best friends. My boss and Tang Yun. Hee. Kong Xiaobo smiled ambiguously. Lin Yi really wanted to kick this bastard in front of him to death. How could he talk about his boss behind his back to pick up girls? Did he drag his relationship with Tang Yun into this? As expected, Tang Yun glared at Kong Xiaobo unhappily. But she couldn't refute it. Because Kong Xiaobo's intention was good. He wanted to change Fun to a better ward. Tang Yun also knew that this kind of ward wasn't good for Fun's condition. If she denied Kong Xiaobo's words, wouldn't it mean that Fun would continue to stay here? Tang Yun thought about it. Since Lin Yi was rich, it was fine for him to spend a little. What did it have to do with her? He was paying for his lackey to pick up girls. Tang Yun felt a bit better when she thought about it. Xiao Fun looked at Tang Yun in confusion. Seeing that Tang Yun didn't speak, she looked at Lu Xinwen. Lu Xinwen secretly nodded at Xiao Fun. Xiao Fun was confused. Tang Yun was in love. Was it Kong Xiaobo's boss in front of her? But there were many people in the ward. Her mother was also here. Fun didn't want to ask for details. She believed Kong Xiaobo's words. Auntie Song, don't worry. My boss will pay for it. Let's help Fun change to another ward. Kong Xiaobo passionately wanted to find a doctor. Lin Yi understood Kong Xiaobo's eagerness to show off. After all, she was the first girl that he fell for. He wanted to show off. So, towards Kong Xiaobo's words, Lin Yi laughed it off. He waved at Tang Yun, and Tang Yun raised her head in confusion, pointing at herself with her finger. Was he calling her? Lin Yi nodded. Tang Yun stood up unwillingly and walked towards Lin Yi. What is it? In order to chase Fun, Kong Xiaobo needs a reason to get close to her. So, he used us. Lin Yi explained, do you understand? Oh. Tang Yun nodded unhappily but didn't refute. Then, don't take it seriously. Chapter 217. Chapter 217, Ward Disturbance. Tang Yun hesitated for a bit before following Lin Yi out of the ward. Xiaofan didn't say anything about her impression of Kong Xiaobo. She should only be grateful, right? Then do you think there's any hope for him? Lin Yi asked. How would I know? Tang Yun humphed. Everyone around you is learning from you, going after girls instead of going to school. Ha, let's not talk about me, Lin Yi said. But I think Kong Xiaobo probably has feelings for her. Tang Yun looked at Kong Xiaobo's back thoughtfully. If Kong Xiaobo really did have feelings for her, then she wouldn't mind matchmaking them. After all, if Xiaofan could accept Kong Xiaobo, then she would be able to walk out of the shadow. Are you sure it's not just a moment of impulse? That he wants to be with Xiaofan for the rest of his life? Isn't he just playing around like you? Why do you always put it on me? I've never told you that I want to play with you. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. I'm not sure if Kong Xiaobo did it on a moment of impulse, but I don't think so. Tang Yun glared at Lin Yi. A girl's reputation is very important. Xiaofan has been hurt once, and she can't get hurt a second time. Lin Yi didn't think that Tang Yun was the type of girl who wouldn't let go once she set her eyes on someone. Most people would worry that their girlfriend would run away when they found a beautiful girlfriend, but Tang Yun wouldn't have such a problem. As the two were talking, Kong Xiaobo started arguing in front of them. Xiaobo was arguing with a middle-aged man about something, and Huiping was trying to calm him down with a worried look on her face. It's not like we don't have to pay for it. Why can't they arrange a separate room for us? Xiaobo was getting really pissed off, and he brought Huiping over to the dean excitedly to ask for a private room, only to be rebuffed by the dean's no. Just as he walked out of the chief's office, a doctor in a white coat led a patient's family member into the chief's office. The doctor smiled and told the chief that the patient was his buddy. He asked the chief to arrange a high-class ward for him. In the end, the chief didn't even think about it and arranged a private ward for the patient. This time, Kong Xiaobo was really anxious. You don't have any, do you? How come you don't have it when we go there, but when the people from the hospital bring their friends there, you have it? It's just a high-class ward to take care of the people inside, the director of the inpatient department explained faintly. It seemed that he did not want to talk nonsense with Kong Xiaobo. Is there a first-come first-served rule? It's not like we don't want to spend money. Why don't you give it to us? Does that mean the insiders get priority? Xiaobo was getting more and more indignant. Don't make a fuss here if you don't have what it takes. My husband's classmate is the chief physician here. You don't have any connections, and you still want a private ward? Go to hell. A woman with heavy makeup next to the doctor's buddy looked at Kong Xiaobo with disdain. Look at your stupid face. Stop embarrassing yourself. You, Kong Xiaobo was anxious. Who are you calling stupid? What's wrong with that? I can tell that you're a country bumpkin with some money. Look at your mom's clothes, she looks like a country bumpkin coming to the city. The man was a bit annoyed when he saw Kong Xiaobo yelling at his woman. He glared at Kong Xiaobo and Huiping. He thought that Huiping was Kong Xiaobo's mother. Pfft. The man spat in disdain. Coincidentally, it landed on Kong Xiaobo's shoes. The man didn't expect his spit to land so accurately. He was slightly stunned. You, clean it for me. Kong Xiaobo had been hanging out with Lin Yi for the past few days. He was full of manliness. Come on, kid. Stop it. The man pulled out 100 kuai from his bag and shoved it into Xiaobo's hand. Go find a place to clean your shoes. I'm telling you, money isn't the only thing you can do these days, you need connections too. You need to learn more. With that, the man pulled the woman away quickly, afraid that Xiaobo would keep looking for trouble. He then followed his doctor buddy to the hospital to handle the paperwork. The man was Zhao Guangdong. He was here to find a private ward for his boss. Speaking of which, his boss didn't have any major problems. It was just that his blood pressure was a bit high these few days. He came to the hospital for an intravenous drip. In fact, he didn't need a private ward at all. However, to show that he had connections, Zhao Guangdong found his buddy, who was a chief physician here, to help him get a private ward. Kong Xiaobo looked at Zhao Guangdong's back. He threw the 100 yuan in his hand on the ground and clenched his fists. His eyes were bloodshot. He was so angry that he panted heavily. Heh. Lin Yi walked over and picked up the 100 yuan from the ground. He stuffed it into Kong Xiaobo's hand. You still have to take the money. Don't go against money. Boss, I want to beat him up. Kong Xiaobo knew that Lin Yi meant well. Now that Xiaofan was in the hospital, it was good to get as much money as possible. However, he couldn't bring himself to do it before. Now that Lin Yi handed him the money, Kong Xiaobo took it. Xiaobo, we don't want the private ward anymore. Don't get into a fight with him. That room is not bad. Song Huiping was afraid that Kong Xiaobo would cause trouble. Tang Yun glanced at Lin Yi. She wanted him to persuade Kong Xiaobo. Tang Yun understood Kong Xiaobo's feelings. She saw the scene just now. She knew the fickleness of human nature. She went to the factory to ask for her father's medical fees. It was also very difficult. In the end, she was kicked out. If they had connections, they could get the medical fees with just a word. The injury wasn't serious at all. It was far worse than her father's injury. Sometimes, beating people up isn't the only way to solve a problem. Lin Yi patted Kong Xiaobo's shoulder. You have to use different methods to deal with different people. Wait for me. They will move out the same way they moved in. Lin Yi finished speaking and walked to the director's office. The director had already returned when Kong Xiaobo and Zhao Guangdong were arguing. He was about to ask Lin Yi what he wanted when he saw Kong Xiaobo and the others behind him. The director's face darkened immediately. Didn't I tell you that there are no more private rooms? Why are you still here? Are you sure that there is only one vacant VIP room? You gave it to those people just now. Lin Yi ignored the director's words and asked directly. Yes. You can leave now, the director waved his hand impatiently. Then ask them to give it out, Lin Yi said indifferently. Ha! The director heard Lin Yi's words and couldn't help but laugh. Who do you think you are? You think you can give it out just because you say so? Are you the director? I still have things to do. If you are here to cause trouble, then I will call the security. Chapter 218. Dumbfounded. The director pursed his lips. Looking for someone? Who are you looking for? If you could find someone, why would you come to me directly? Just find someone from the hospital and bring them over. Wouldn't the room be yours? Now that only one room had been given away, it wouldn't be easy to find someone else. Even if you found someone from the hospital and heard that the room was given to someone from the hospital, they wouldn't force it. Wouldn't that be offending someone? Hello. Professor Guan. I'm Lin Yi. Naturally, the person Lin Yi was looking for was Guan Xuemin. Guan Xuemin was the director of Songshan Medical University, and Songshan First People's Hospital was an affiliated hospital of the university. Whether it was in terms of personnel or position, they had to listen to the school's arrangements. This was what Lin Yi had learned from his conversation with Guan Xuemin the other day. Who was Guan Xuemin? He was the director of the TCM school, and the hospital's TCM department was under his control. Even if the inpatient department wasn't under his control, he only needed to call the director of the hospital and ask for a room. Oh, Mr. Lin. What brings you to this old man again? Guan Xuemin was delighted to hear Lin Yi's voice. Lin Yi had called yesterday, and now he was calling again today. Guan Xuemin had wanted to get closer to Lin Yi. It's like this, Professor Guan. I'm at Songshan First People's Hospital. My friend is hospitalized here, and I want to spend money to get a VIP room. We came first, but the inpatient department director gave the room to someone he knew. Lin Yi didn't add fuel to the fire, only telling the truth about his current situation. I understand. I'll call old Qin, the director of the hospital. I'll get back to you in a bit. Guan Xuemin said with a smile. If it had been someone else looking for Guan Xuemin wouldn't have helped. Lin Yi had already made it clear that the inpatient department director had given the room to someone he knew. This was an unspoken rule, and Guan Xuemin wouldn't cause trouble for someone else over such a small matter. That would make him, a dignified director of the School of Chinese Medicine, look petty. Of course, this wasn't the crux of the problem. The crux of the problem was that although the hospital was an affiliated hospital of the school, it was jointly established with a company. His son was one of the shareholders of the hospital. Therefore, it was even more inappropriate for Guan Xuemin to interfere with the hospital's affairs. One phone call from him could cause a huge uproar. However, things were different now that it was Lin Yi who had brought the matter to him. He was a good friend and teacher to Lin Yi, so Guan Xuemin was naturally very concerned about his matters. After hanging up Lin Yi's call, he called Lao Qin, the director of the hospital. The inpatient department's director was sneering as he watched Lin Yi make the call. However, when he heard Lin Yi mention the words, Professor Guan, he was slightly stunned. Just as he was wondering who this Professor Guan was, he suddenly broke out in a cold sweat. Who else could be Professor Guan who was related to the hospital? Isn't that Guan Xuemin, the dean of the School of Chinese Medicine? Thinking of this, the inpatient department's expression suddenly froze. Who was Guan Xuemin? Even the dean of the hospital respected him. Moreover, Guan Xuemin's son was a shareholder of the hospital. Wasn't it a piece of cake for him to punish a small inpatient department's director? The crux of the problem was that he was wrongly accused. The reason why he didn't reserve a ward for Kong Xiaobo was that the doctor had called him in advance and asked him to reserve a ward for him. It was just that Kong Xiaobo came before the doctor came. If it was really first come, first served, then it was the doctor who had called first. However, it was also his fault that he didn't explain it clearly to Kong Xiaobo. If he had explained it properly, things wouldn't have turned out this way, right? Thinking of this, the inpatient department's director hurriedly stood up and explained a little awkwardly, "Young man, there's no need to trouble Director Guan. Actually, I have to explain this matter. The doctor who came to ask for a ward wasn't first come, first served. He had already called me in advance, so I reserved the ward for him and told the young man that there was no ward available. Do you think that I will believe what you said now?" Lin Yi didn't care whether what he said was true or not, and he wasn't in the mood to listen to his explanation. Even if what he said was true, then what had he been doing before? The inpatient department's director was suddenly speechless. He blushed and wanted to say something, but the phone on the table rang shrilly. The inpatient department's director was shocked. He hurriedly ran over and humbly picked up the phone. He had already guessed who was calling. As expected, after seeing the caller ID, the inpatient department's director became even more humble, "Director Qin. Are you looking for me?" However, before the inpatient department's director could finish his words, a roar came from the other end of the phone. The inpatient department's director hurriedly said, "Yes." Before he could explain, the other end of the phone had already hung up. The inpatient department's director put down the phone gloomily. When he turned around to face Lin Yi, his face was filled with a brighter smile than before. "Young man, I'm so sorry. I'll ask them to give up the ward right now." The inpatient department's director had already made a decision. It was fine if he offended the doctor, but if he offended Guan Xuemin and Director Qin, he wouldn't be able to stay in this hospital any longer. He regretted looking down on Guan Xuemin, but there was nothing he could do. Standing beside Lin Yi, Kong Xiaobo felt more and more refreshed. His anger just now was released in an instant. He sneered at the inpatient department's director, who had a flattering smile on his face. Seeing Kong Xiaobo's smile, the inpatient department's director felt both embarrassed and indignant. "You're acting like a pig to eat a tiger, aren't you? Do you have fun acting like a pig? Your friend knows Guan Xuemin, and you're still begging me for a VIP ward. Isn't that something that can be settled with a phone call?" But thinking was just thinking. He still put on a flattering smile. "Please come with me, I'll go arrange the rooms right now." Tang Yin looked at Lin Yi deeply. This man seemed to be able to solve all kinds of problems no matter where he went. Sometimes he used violence, sometimes he used connections. Tang Yin shook her head and massaged her temples, trying to calm herself down. She didn't want to think about Lin Yi anymore. After leaving the inpatient department's room, Lin Yi was surprised to see Guan Xian looking around. Lin Yi was a little surprised as he waved at her. "Guan Xian, over here." Chapter 219. How to enter and how to leave. The dean was part of the higher management of the hospital. Of course he knew who Guan Xian was. Ordinary junior doctors might not know, but the director of the inpatient department knew. Guan Xuemin's granddaughter, the daughter of a shareholder of the hospital, who would dare disrespect her? The dean was still trying to guess how close Lin Yi and Guan Xuemin were because of the severity of the situation. If Lin Yi and Guan Xuemin only knew each other and weren't that familiar with each other, then he'd just let it go. If they were close, then it'd be hard to avoid leaving a bad impression on Dean Qin and Guan Xuemin, but now that Guan Xuemin's granddaughter knew Lin Yi, didn't that mean that Lin Yi was close to Guan Xuemin's family? Guan Xian was done with her work, and for some reason, she wandered over to the hospital. She just wanted to see if she could bump into Lin Yi again. She didn't have a specific goal in mind, since she didn't ask which room Lin Yi was in. Guan Xian smiled sweetly when she heard Lin Yi calling her name. Lin Yi, I'm just here to see if there's anything I can do to help. Oh, not at the moment, it's been taken care of. Lin Yi looked at the dean. Guan Xian didn't know what to say after hearing Lin Yi's words. She looked at the beautiful Tang Yun beside Lin Yi and felt a little discouraged. Is this, your girlfriend? No. I have nothing to do with him. Tang Yun jumped out before Lin Yi could say anything. She waved her hands as if someone had stepped on her tail. Oh, Guan Xian sighed in relief before turning to Lin Yi. Give me your phone number. I haven't thanked you for what you did last time, I'll treat you to dinner during my break. Lin Yi didn't mind, and gave her a number. Guan Xian saved it and called him back, showing her number on Lin Yi's phone as well. However, Tang Yun frowned. Did Lin Yi help her? Suddenly, she felt a little regretful. Why was she so eager to explain her relationship with Lin Yi? The guy seemed to have a lot of luck with women, hooking up with a pretty nurse. Tang Yun was a bit disappointed and quickened her steps. Guan Xian was older and more mature than Tang Yun. She couldn't help but smile at Tang Yun's reaction. She turned to Lin Yi. Your friend seems to be jealous. I'll be leaving first. Call me when you have time. Heh. Lin Yi smiled. Alright, let's keep in touch by phone. Guan Xian was only here to see Lin Yi. She didn't know what to say or do when she saw Lin Yi. Guan Xian sighed as she watched Lin Yi and Tang Yun leave, but she didn't know what she was sighing about. In a high-class ward, Guangdong was peeling oranges for the boss. Mr. Zhou, this room is good, right? It's no different from a 5-star hotel, right? And, not bad. Guangdong, I didn't expect you to have connections in the hospital. I've underestimated you. Mr. Zhou said. Looks like I'll have to promote you in the future. Hee, it's nothing. I'm just a person with a good social network. I have friends everywhere I go. People always give me face. Guangdong laughed. Yeah, Mr. Zhou. Our Guangdong has a lot of friends. The woman with heavy makeup chimed in. Just now, there was a little idiot who went to ask for a VIP room, but the director of the inpatient department didn't even bother with him. Our Guangdong brought a friend over, and the room was delivered. Who are you calling an idiot? The door opened abruptly, and Xiaobo barged in, a little pissed off as he pointed at the woman with heavy makeup. Huh? So what if I called you an idiot? You even found your way here. What, you're not happy? Should I get security to kick you out? I'll count to 3, get the hell out of here. The woman with heavy makeup was about to press the call button on the bed. Heh, you're right. The idiot is the one leaving. You can leave now. Lin Yi followed Kong Xiaobo into the ward. Idiots, should I get security to kick you out? What's going on? Guangdong, who are these people? Mr. Zhou frowned as he looked at the people entering the ward. Mr. Zhou, I'll get security right now. Guangdong was obviously a coward who liked to act big. He didn't dare make a move, but he didn't want to lose face either. No need for that. Now, this ward is theirs. The director of the inpatient department sighed. These people weren't easy to deal with. As soon as they entered the ward, they offended everyone in the ward. There was no room for negotiation. The director of the inpatient department wanted to explain his difficulties to Guangdong and ask them to move out. But now, he didn't need to explain anymore. His explanation was unnecessary. He had to stand firmly on Lin Yi's side. Did you hear that? Kong Xiaobo suddenly became arrogant. He pointed at Guangdong and said, "Move out the way you moved in." Kong Xiaobo's words were said by Lin Yi, but Kong Xiaobo didn't care. As a follower, he could naturally use the words of his boss. Besides, he felt that this sentence was awesome. It was quite imposing. Zhao Guangdong's face changed immediately. He didn't care what Kang Xiaobo said, but he had to listen to the director. This was a hospital, someone else's turf. He wasn't powerful enough to argue with the director. He put on a smile and asked confusedly, "Director Ma, didn't we agree on this? They were here first. First come, first serve." Director Ma was getting impatient. He was afraid that Lin Yi would be upset. He waved his hand at Guangdong. "Alright, you guys clean up and move to a normal double room. It's just in 4 drip. I've already arranged it. But Director Ma, for Dr. Liao's sake. Besides, our Mr. Zhou is here." Guangdong was in a difficult position. He didn't know why the director suddenly changed his mind, but he just bragged to his boss. If they changed rooms, Mr. Zhou wouldn't be happy. As expected, Mr. Zhou spoke before Guangdong could. "Director Ma, right?" "I'm Zhou Tiandi from the Tiandi Group. I'm friends with Director Sun from the Health Bureau. Songshan First Hospital was a city-owned hospital. It wasn't under the jurisdiction of the Health Bureau, but they were all in the same system. Under normal circumstances, the people in the hospital would give face. No one wanted to offend someone from the Health Bureau. After all, the director of the Health Bureau must have connections in the city's Health Bureau. It wasn't worth it to offend someone like that." Chapter 220. "Give you a plane ticket." Tiandi's face darkened and the dean didn't say anything. "What, Dean Ma doesn't want to give me face anymore? There aren't many people in Songshan who can say no to me. Mr. Zhou." The dean didn't know who Tiandi was, but he'd heard of the name before. He was one of the most famous people in Songshan, starting out in the black and white world. A few years ago, he opened a large KTV, and had quite a few connections. "Enough with the useless stuff, I'm not leaving today. Let's see who can make me leave." Tiandi, naturally, wouldn't leave the room just like that. This wasn't just a simple hospital room anymore, it was a matter of his face in Songshan. If Tiandi obediently left the room today, he'd be the laughing stock of everyone tomorrow. Besides, he felt that he was in the right. Guangdong had already paid the fee, and he had a ticket. Why would he be kicked out? "You're not leaving. I'll give you a plane ticket." Lin Yi didn't have the time to waste with this guy. Fun was waiting for him. With that, Lin Yi walked over and grabbed Tiandi by the collar, tossing him out along with the 4-bottle beside him. Tiandi was sent flying out of the room, landing on the bench in front of the door with a thud. The 4-bottle miraculously ended up hanging on the clothes hanging behind the bench. Lin Yi was already giving Tiandi a lot of face, telling him to leave after getting his 4-drip. Otherwise, he'd have made him crawl under the bench. Tiandi was a bit disdainful of Lin Yi trying to make a move on him. He was planning on scaring him. Who was he? He was Tiandi, a celebrity in Songshan. Was this guy trying to get physical with him? Was he looking to die? But before he could say anything, he felt his body floating in the air. The next moment, he was sitting on the bench in the hallway of the hospital. The dean didn't expect Lin Yi to be so violent, tossing him out without even listening to what Tiandi had to say. He smiled bitterly, but at least it saved him the trouble of explaining. Zhao Guangdong was also a little dumbfounded. What kind of person was this? He had never seen someone like this. One wrong word and he would lose face. However, Zhao Guangdong didn't dare to say anything to Lin Yi. He was a typical bully. When he saw his boss flying out, he hurriedly ran out of the ward to see if his boss was all right. "Mr. Zhou, are you all right?" Guangdong ran into the hallway and asked the pale-faced Tiandi. Tiandi was fine, but he was scared out of his wits. Who would feel good after flying through the air? Especially at such an old age, his heart almost fell out of fear. Today, I, Zhou Tiandi, will make my words clear. Wait in this room if you have the balls, otherwise get the hell out of here in an hour. Tiandi let out a sigh of relief as he pointed at the room. If you're still here, I'll make sure you stay in this room for half a year. Bam! Lin Yi slammed the door shut, not listening to what Tiandi had to say. You! Tiandi almost died from anger. He clutched his chest. Fine, if you have the balls, just you wait. Guangdong, call Ruoguang and tell him to bring people here. Yes, Mr. Zhou. Guangdong had wanted to make the call a long time ago, but Mr. Zhou hadn't said anything, so he didn't dare make the call himself. All he had to do now was call the boss' eldest son, Zhou Ruoguang, and the people in this room would be done for. Tang Yun wasn't a fan of violence, but she couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Lin Yi was always this reckless, just like when he smashed Zhang Bianbiao's barbecue stand. Just as Lin Yi had said, you had to use different methods to deal with different people. Some people wouldn't listen if you tried to reason with them, so you had to use violence to stop violence. Brother, that's Zhou Tiandi. He has some connections in the underworld. You've offended him. Director Ma knew that Lin Yi had a close relationship with Guan Shuamin, so he had to remind him. Should I call some security? Thank you, Director Ma, but it's fine. I think it's better to get some surgeons, Lin Yi said. Ah. Director Ma paused, not understanding what Lin Yi meant. He thought about it carefully. Was Lin Yi saying that there would be people injured in this room when Zhou Tiandi called people over, and they would need surgeons? But why would he do that? Wait to get beaten up. Director Ma didn't understand, but since Lin Yi said so, he could only agree and act according to the situation. Xiaobo, bring Xiaofan here with Aunt Song and Director Ma. Tang Yun and I will wait in the room. Lin Yi said. That Zhou Tiandi probably won't let this go easily. If we don't solve this problem today, it'll happen sooner or later. Why don't we settle it today? Lin Yi was never someone who was afraid of trouble. What happened today was nothing in his eyes. Kong Xiaobo knew what Lin Yi was capable of, so he wasn't worried. He had an inexplicable confidence in Lin Yi. No matter what Lin Yi did, he believed that his boss was number one in the world. Song Huiping didn't know what to do. She knew from Kong Xiaobo that Lin Yi was a domineering young master. She couldn't interfere no matter what Lin Yi did. She could only stand on the side, panicking. Normally, she wouldn't dare to mess with a big boss like Zhou Tiandi, but she didn't dare to stop Lin Yi from messing with him. At this moment, she could only follow Kong Xiaobo and walk back to the original room. Only Tang Yun and Lin Yi were left in the room. Lin Yi asked her to stay here, and Tang Yun didn't reject him. But her expression was a bit unnatural. Actually, you don't have to change rooms. It's not worth it to offend someone for a room, offend? Lin Yi smiled faintly. I don't care about the guy at the door. If he thinks that I offended him, then so be it. But he better not do anything else, or he'll really offend me. Tang Yun heard Lin Yi's words and couldn't help but laugh. Why are you always bragging? Even if you're a young master, that person is a big boss. Ha! Lin Yi smiled. When you have absolute confidence that you can take someone's life, you won't care about them, no matter what their job or identity is. He started doing solo missions at the age of 10. Whether it was a rich boss or a big boss of the underworld, Lin Yi only had targets in his eyes. You only know how to smile like an idiot. Tang Yun turned around angrily when Lin Yi didn't reply. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.